Felicia Wilson, a nurse, to return her engagement and wedding rings. Felicia says she already gave the rings back.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 110 on the calendar in the matter of Brewer versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Brewer, how long were you acquainted with the defendant before you became engaged?
About 2 years. I had been employed at the medical center, and she was a nurse at the same center.
How long did you date before you became engaged?
About 3 months.
And according to your complaint, you bought some engagement rings.
Yes.
Did you go shopping for it together?
We went together, and she picked it out. And I just stood back and watched because she had made the comment that that was the binding contract for our relationship to be a solid union.
Well,
and
you must, Mr. Brewer, you must have said, "Will you marry me?" Does that sound familiar? At some point, you must have said, "Will you marry me?"
I did after she encountered the comment that in order for us to be a bond, that we need to make this a continuity thing. And I said, yes, I'll do that in order to make this a binding thing. I want to get us married and so we can have something to go on. But like I said, 2 years prior to meeting her, I only met her in coordination of going back and forth through my job.
So you really were dated for 3 months, although you knew her for 2 years.
Right.
You went shopping for the rings together, is that right so far?
That's true.
Bought the ring. How much did you pay for the rings?
It was $2,600.
Okay. And then the engagement was broken.
Yes. We went to a concert, and she got, I found that she had a drinking problem, and I didn't know that. And it became more and more aware of it by the fact that she began to act violently. Like, we went to a concert, and the concert was Yanni, and she stopped the show. She went up on the stage and actually stopped the show.
Is that true?
No, that is not true.
Did you go to a concert, a Yanni concert?
Yes, we went to a concert.
What happened there?
We just left the concert because of his behavior, because we could not get along. We were starting to...
I'm sorry.
We had already been having some disagreements, and we just could not connect as to what we should do in the concert.
Okay. Let's pass the concert and let's go on to the broken engagement.
Okay.
For whatever reason, you decided it was not a good idea that you marry. Is that right?
How that ended is what we had got an apartment together. She couldn't get an apartment. She said she wanted to get away from her household because she was having problems there, and she wanted to develop into more of an adult. And so we were going to make that move, and then when she came in, she wanted to buy clothing because she wanted to take a trip. She bought clothing, and we just did a whole lot of things together. And during this situation, at the end is when I had gotten financially just deluded to the point that I didn't have anything left. She said that she didn't want any more to do it. I told her because we couldn't pay the bills. We couldn't pay the bills.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, we were.
How long had you lived together?
For about a month.
You decided that you weren't going to marry.
She decided that.
She decided. Tell me about that moment when you told him that you didn't want to marry him.
Well, first off, we had irreconcilable differences. Lavelle, he was extremely verbally abusive. He was manipulative. He tried to control my accounts. He wanted to control my finances. I had gotten an apartment by myself. I had moved in. A few days later, he moved in with me. So I told him that I would pay all the bills, which I did. I paid for the rent.
You only lived together for a month.
Which is true.
Okay, so you only lived together for a month. We're not talking about the national debt. Okay. You decided you didn't want to marry him. According to him, you broke it off. Tell me about that evening or day when you told him you didn't want to marry him.
I told him that I can't take this anymore. No matter what I do, it was never enough. I couldn't take him.
So you told him you didn't. What did you do with the rings when you told him you didn't want to marry him?
I gave him the rings back.
No, she didn't. No,
I put the rings in his hands. I told him, I do not want to marry you anymore. I cannot take this abuse at all.
Then why, Miss Wilson, would you think that he filed this lawsuit against you for the return of the rings?
I'm astounded that he filed this lawsuit against me. I am totally shocked.
Did you buy these rings on time? Were you paying them off, or did you pay for them all at one time?
Oh, no, I'm still paying them.
Let me see the proof that you're still paying for them.
I just got the proof that I purchased. I didn't bring the paperwork that I'm still paying for them because I have that. I'm paying through it through credit, consumer credit.
It would certainly have been helpful, sir, to establish to my satisfaction that you are still paying off these rings.
I filed bankruptcy, and they told me that I couldn't pay them off. I had to turn the rings back in. And so then I had to go to consumer credit to put it in, and all they gave me was a number. They didn't give me a... I started to bring that, but it didn't have anything to...
When did you file for personal bankruptcy?
About a year afterwards, because they told me...
Why did you file for bankruptcy?
Because she had ran up all my credit. I had all my credit cards ran up to the end. I had furniture that I had bought for her that I also couldn't pay, and I was.
Who has the furniture?
She has the furniture.
Do you have the furniture?
I don't have his furniture. I have my own furniture.
Who paid for it?
I paid for it. I paid for it cash.
How much was this furniture that you purchased?
The furniture I purchased was approximately $2,500 because I brought living room, dinette set. That's what I purchased.
And you paid for that in cash?
I paid for it in cash because I was scheduled to go on vacation this year. So I used my vacation money to move into the apartment because he didn't even put any money down on an apartment.
You used your vacation money. Go ahead.
I used my vacation money to move into the apartment and to purchase the furniture for the
How much was the rent on the apartment?
The apartment was $835 a month.
Okay. And you had to put down security, another $835?
True.
And you purchased furniture, according to you, of $2,500.
True.
Okay, all in 1 month.
True.
Now, would you tell me what your annual salary is at this nursing job?
$60,000 a year.
Is that what you were earning when you were together?
Yes, I was.
How long have you had this job for $60,000 a year?
11 years.
Have you ever been away from your job?
In terms of?
Illness?
Yes, I have.
When?
I was away from my job first off, and this second off will be 1996.
And that was for hospitalization?
Yes, it was.
Prior to that, when were you hospitalized?
I was hospitalized approximately in 1993.
Is that the same hospital?
Different hospital, but same circumstances.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You say she broke your camcorder when she was taking some pictures. So you're holding the Brady Bunch board game as hostage. How much did you pay for that board game?
$375.
You're kidding me.
No.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Laval Brewer Jr. claims his ex-fiancée, Felicia Wilson, didn't return her engagement ring after they broke up.
You know what the diagnosis is for your illness?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Manic depression, bipolar disorder.
You take medication for that?
Yes, I am.
Since 1996, have you had a recurrence?
It was in 1997. That's the last time I was hospitalized.
How much after the breakup of your engagement were you hospitalized?
It was approximately 9 months after the breakup.
What was the date of the breakup of the engagement?
I believe it was around about May. It was right after we had come from Ensenada, and she had had an erratic, she just started throwing things at me for no reason. And then when she came back, she apologized and said everything will be okay. And
Mr. Brewer,
right after that, we broke up.
Mr. Brewer, did you know that Miss Wilson had a history of psychiatric disorder?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. She told me that after we got together and we were dating, then she told me. but I didn't know it prior to that.
What did she tell you?
She told me that after we got together and we moved into the apartment, then she told me, she says, this is where my doctor is. And I'm saying like, okay. And he says, because sometimes I have this problem, and this way we're close to where we can go to him and it won't be far away. And then that's when I found out what she had been committed for.
Mr. Brewer, Miss Wilson says that at the time that the relationship was terminated, she took the rings and put them in your hand. Is that true, sir?
No, that's absolutely a lie. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Miss Wilson, have you had any contact with each other since your relationship terminated?
I haven't spoken with him in over almost 3 years.
What school were you going to, by the way?
Cal State Dominguez.
For what?
I was obtaining my degree in nursing.
You mean you didn't have a degree in nursing before?
Well, I have my associate's degree. I graduated from a 2-year college. Then later on, I went back for my baccalaureate degree.
And did you get it? Did
Yes,
you graduate?
I did. Yes, I did.
In what year?
I just graduated. I finished all the courses. I graduated 1998 of May.
And you're telling me that as a recent graduate, a recent nursing graduate, you're making $60,000 a year?
Yes, I am telling you that.
Now, can you think of any reason, Miss Wilson, why Mr. Brewer would want the return of the engagement rings that he said he gave you if you had already returned them to him?
Perhaps he's still holding a grudge or something. I really don't know, because I thought that the relationship had ended with me giving him the rings back. So I'm really shocked that he is suing me for this amount.
Well, I have to make a judgment at this time based upon common sense and based upon my evaluation of the parties as to who I believe. Quite frankly, Mr. Brewer, I believe that you never got the rings back.
That's true, Your Honor.
And Miss Wilson is not going to be forthcoming with those rings, wherever they are. So you are entitled to the rings back because the contract of marriage was broken. According to the defendant, she broke the contract. But it really is irrelevant who decided to terminate the relationship, because in all probability it would have ended in disaster. So you're both probably better off. But she had the responsibility of returning the rings, and quite frankly, madam, I do not believe that you returned them. So I am awarding the plaintiff the amount of $2,599, which is the cost of the rings. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We went to the concert, and she stopped the concert. We went to a couple other incidences that showed that she was not wrapped tight.
Perhaps he still has some feelings. I'm not sure. I wish him well.
And now the next case.
Parties on James versus Morgan. Step forward, please.
24-year-old toy collector Marcy James claims former friend, 24-year-old film student Ben Morgan, refuses to return her collector edition Brady Bunch game. Ben says she can have it back when she pays for his broken camcorder.
How long have the two of you been friends?
Since kindergarten.
You went to a party at his house and you had just bought a board game.
That's correct.
That board game.
That's correct.
A vintage board game.
Yes. Very collectible.
You're into collectibles.
That's right.
I assume you brought me some of the other things that you collect.
Brady Bunch collectibles. Yes.
Isn't that terrific? And you brought it to your house to show your friends?
Yeah, she had just bought this a few days prior and wanted to show me.
And while you were at the party, according to your answer, sir, she got a little tipsy, was taking pictures with that camcorder over there.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's a pretty old camcorder. Looks like a dinosaur. Right?
It used to work, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If she fell with the camera,
Yes.
and the sound goes out and the video goes, you know, blippy,
Yes.
it's broken.
Did you see her break your camcorder?
No, Your Honor.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcy James claims former friend Ben Morgan refuses to return her collector edition Brady Bunch game.
You say she broke your camcorder when she was taking some pictures. So you're holding the Brady Bunch board game as hostage. How much did you pay for that board game?
$375.
$375.
And I have a receipt for it.
Need the receipt for it.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a toy collector.
A toy collector?
Yes.
So you make a business of that, and when you do, resell them?
Yep.
How many years have you been making a living at this?
Almost 10 years now.
You're kidding me.
No.
Okay, so it's clear that's her board game. Now, tell me, sir, about this
But
Yeah.
that is not the condition it was when I had taken it to his house for the party. It was in, because I had just gotten it like the week before. It was in plastic wrap. I mean, this looks totally
It was like in a plastic bag, not like it was
Miss
brand
James.
new. Like.
Miss James, you left it there. There was a party going
But
on.
it's like smashed. It's
Listen
like,
to me. Listen to me, madam.
Okay.
You've been in this business, you said, for a decade.
Yeah.
You want to keep your things in pristine condition, you keep them in the bag, and
They
you
were.
and when you leave the house, you take them with you.
Well, that
But
wasn't.
what?
Well, he said he was going to hold on to it, and I went to pick it up the next day.
Why did you go the next day? Why didn't you take it that night?
Because I didn't want to carry it, I guess.
Because you were drunk.
Give me a break. Come on. So, what makes you think she broke your camcorder?
Well, the day after the party, I was cleaning up, and I found my camcorder. It wasn't where I left it, and as you can see, it looks like this now. Like this thing won't shut.
Fine, it won't
and, like,
shut.
the wires are like
And
all,
the wires are
it's all
out. What
messed
makes
up.
you think that she's responsible for the condition of your
Because
camcorder?
when I took the tape out from the camcorder to watch it in my VCR, the very last thing on the tape is her taping stuff, and like she falls. Like you totally see it in the video. She falls in it, like, and that's when it broke.
Well, how do you know that's when it broke?
Because it worked before that, and no one else used it.
How do you know no one else used it? How do you know no one else touched it?
Because there's nothing else on the tape.
So what?
I put it back in my closet.
You know, Mr. Morgan, you're going to tell me a lot of baloney stories, just like she's going to try to tell me a lot of baloney stories. I'm going to throw you both out of here. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir? What I'm saying to you is, did you see her break your camcorder?
No, Your Honor. I
Good.
did not.
And the only circumstantial evidence that you have is that you believe that she was the last one to tape on it.
If you would watch the tape, Your Honor, it shows her taping with the camcorder, and she falls, and it totally
how can you
and
see
it
that
breaks.
she's? How can you see her taping?
And you hear her voice, and you hear someone say, "Marcy, what are you doing?" or "Marcy," and that's when she fell.
Let us assume she fell,
Yes.
and then you don't hear anything else on the tape.
Right, because it broke. The sound went out after that.
Then you don't hear anything else on the tape.
But the video kept going.
So what?
So if she fell with the camera,
Yes.
and the sound goes out, and the video goes, blippy,
Yes.
it's broken.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
And how many other people used it?
No one.
How do you know that?
When I was done
How do you know that?
Because I put it back in my room. I put it back in my closet.
You got an answer for everything. You put it back in your closet. You mean she went to your closet and got it out of your closet?
That she must have.
Did
She
you go to
knows.
his closet?
She knows
Did you
where
go
all
to
my.
his closet and take the camcorder out of his closet?
No.
No. Oh, please, do me a favor. Listen to me. You see that Brady Bunch board game? I don't know where these people are coming from. Give it back to her. Perfect.
If you could see how she was at the party, like.
Excuse me.
Now you have your
Look
board.
at it. It's totally ripped. This is not
Well,
worth.
listen, you got to take better care of your things, people, both of you. Now you have the board game back. Now you have your camera back. Goodbye.
I just had excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
My husband was just a bear defending his wife and his cubs.
the day the dog sitter met the neighbors head on.
I don't know how mad you are. I don't know what kind of Looney Tune you are.
Real people, Judge Judy.
Look at this. It's totally. That was not even like that.
Good. Hello. This wasn't like this either when you broke it.
Look at it. It's so fake. You probably broke that yourself.
Hello. It
You
won't
know?
even shut.
We haven't spoken in 5 months, so that's been kind of weird because we usually talk on a daily basis.
I'm tired of like taking all this abuse, from supposedly my best friend.
Don Prawl found Clifford Weisheimer and his son Cliff Jr.'s cat. When the Weisheimers came to get their cat, the Prawls claim Dawn was assaulted, breaking her toe.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Prawl versus Weisheimer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Ladies.
This was a very confusing set of papers here, but let me see if I figured it out. You had a cat.
Yes.
You lost your cat.
Correct.
Step up here. You found a cat.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't know who it belonged to.
No. That's correct.
You found out months later that these people who live in the same complex that you do
Used to, but yes, did at the time.
had your cat.
Correct.
So you go to get the cat, and who are you with?
Okay, myself, my son, and his girlfriend went over to get the cat. We identified ourselves outside, and they invited us in. So we all sat around, talked, and petted the cat for about 7 minutes or so, and then I asked them what was the situation with the vet bills. They had mentioned that they had some vet bills on the cat. Originally, when we talked to them the first time, the vet bill started out at $200. The last time we talked to them, they went to $1,000. And then the time we were there, we talked to him. He said, "Oh no, the vet bills are $2,000." So basically, I got kind of frustrated, to say the least, and asked them, well, basically, could we have our cat back? So that's why we were there in the first place.
Okay, so you discussed these vet bills, and you weren't going to pay the vet bills, which are now up to $2,000.
Okay.
So tell me slowly what happened.
Okay, basically, I believe my son was petting the cat, and I became very frustrated at this point because they said, "You owed us the money, and we're not going to give you the cat back, it's ours." So I kind of lost my composure a little bit, and I raised my voice, and I said, "Well, we want the cat," okay? And at that point, Dawn jumped up and grabbed me, okay? And
I did not grab him.
Go ahead.
Okay, she had jumped up and grabbed me. I said, "Please get your hands off me." And all I did was grab her arm, or her arm right here, and just remove her hands from my body. At that point, her husband said, "Get your hands off my wife. Quit touching my wife." I said, "I'm not trying to do anything. Your wife, just tell her to get her hands off me." She grabbed me again. I kept saying, "Get your hands off me." I did not push her, shove her, hit her, anything. I just defensively took her hand off of my body. At this point, when all the yelling and pushing and stuff started, the kids got scared. They immediately left. My son was near the front door.
Who was holding the cat?
Okay, when we were arguing, my son wasn't holding the cat. I don't know if he was still holding the cat when we started all this violence, because I wasn't,
But when your son went to the door, were you holding the cat?
No, I was not.
Who had the cat?
I
Yes,
set
you
the
were.
cat.
Sorry.
I set the cat down and I exited the house.
So the cat was left in their house?
Yes, and it escaped out the door with me.
So it ran out the door?
Basically, yes.
Now, during this melee, you claim that you suffered a broken toe.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Well, when he started swearing and shouting up and down that they were going to take the cat back, the girlfriend kind of pushed the son out the door and took off running the other way.
Okay, so she wanted out of this situation.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
he
then-
wanted out.
Yeah.
The son.
But he happened to have the cat in his arms at the time and walked out with the cat. And I mean, I watched him walk down the sidewalk, and as I was trying to get out the door to go after him to get the cat back, the father kind of blocked me, and then my husband came up because he thought that he thought that he was holding on to me to
But he
keep me
wasn't.
from getting. No.
He was just blocking you.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, then my husband grabbed him from behind and held on to him. And then in the meantime, I was getting ready to go, but he was standing on my foot, and I couldn't get out the door. And that's
Well,
when my
just a
toe was
second.
broken.
So far, he was just blocking you. And then your husband came up and grabbed him.
Right.
And it was at that point that he stepped on your toe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is his foot didn't touch your toe until your husband, you believe,
Well, he had
perceived him to be
Yeah.
touching you, so
Yes.
came up and grabbed his body.
Right.
And at that point, I assume you started to move around?
Yes. Basically, I got frustrated. I yelled. She started the first physical contact. The violence started, and yelling started. The kids went. Pff. He went out the front door because he was right by the front door. The cat had ran out. Why he ran out, and she got trapped inside, so she couldn't get out. And so I ended up pulling her out past them because I wanted the children away from the violence. And so that's basically how it happened.
Mrs. Prayle, you knew that this was their cat.
No, we didn't.
Well, they came over. They had called you several times. I assume the first time that they called, they described the cat. Is
Your
that
Honor,
right?
But they never came with any
We don't-
identity.
yeah, they never
as
showed
far
us
as
any
saying, you know, this is our cat. We can tell you it's our cat because we had pictures or he had clear markings.
Just a
They never
second.
said any of those
Just a
things.
second. They called you and told you that they lost a cat. Did you say to them, could you bring us over some pictures? Do you have any pictures of the cat that you lost? Did you ever say that to them?
Actually, I did. I said at the time when you want to come over and visit, make sure you bring some type of proof of ownership. And at that time when I was talking to him, I clearly told him how much we had accumulated in vet bills, the records that we've accumulated, and that was in our intention of keeping the cat because we thought he was an abandoned cat.
Well, but you thought wrong. Mr. Prayle, why would you tell them that these vet bills had reached whatever you told them that they reached, $2,000, if you weren't satisfied that they were the owners of the cat?
Because prior to that, the ex-wife had come over and visited the cat, and she was the one who was trying to indicate that it was their cat. But she didn't bring any type of proof either. And then we started talking about how much we've accumulated in vet bills.
So his former wife did come over
Correct.
and said, this is certainly our cat. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You should have let them take the cat.
Well, we didn't know that it was theirs, and we had spent so much money on the cat already.
You did that voluntarily. You did that. I mean, it was very nice of you to take in this cat. You could have called the Humane Society. They would have taken the cat.
Yeah, we thought about doing that.
Well, you could have done that.
Yeah.
What kind of bills did you have for this cat that totaled $2,000?
Actually, it was only $1,000. And
Did you ever tell them $2,000?
No.
No.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a
We
second.
can never get the price straight.
You step up here. Tell me your name.
My name's Jennifer Davis.
Jennifer, were you there when this discussion was going on?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was there ever any mention of $2,000?
Yes, Your Honor. When she was telling how much the vet bills were, she said that they were totaled $2,000.
No, I said they totaled almost a
No,
couple
you
thousand
said
dollars.
Almost a couple of thousand. Yeah, almost a couple of thousand. A couple is two.
Well, the total was $1,500 by the
First
time
you told me
everything was done.
1,000. Now you tell me 1,500.
Well, the vet bills themselves are $1,000, but we didn't have any supplies. We didn't have, anything to take care of an animal. And up until that point, it had cost us about $500 in things like litter and, food. Because the cat, we thought it was allergic to food, so then we had to buy special food. And, it was just a nightmare trying to
Are
take
you
care of
telling
the
me
poor
that you
animal.
spent $100
Yeah.
a month on kitty litter?
Yeah, it had diarrhea fairly badly.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You neutered this cat?
Yes. He was also very sick. So.
You think neutering him made him feel better?
No, not
I doubt
really.
that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean and Dawn Prahl claim Dawn was assaulted by the Weisheimers when they came to retrieve their lost cat.
Mr. and Mrs. Prayer, you should have let them take the cat and not had this altercation inside your house. There are legal ways to take care of it if you feel as if they owe you money for taking care of their cat. And quite frankly, I'm not satisfied that your broken toe, although I'm very sorry that you had a broken toe, was a result of anything that he did intentionally. Now, he may have stepped on your toe, but I'm not finding that that's his fault. In any event, you're suing them for $5,000. Vet bills, pain and suffering, everything else. And there's certainly no way that you're going to get $5,000. You're not going to get anywhere close to that. But they took care of your cat for 3 months, 4 months.
Actually, about around 6, I think.
Okay. Now, how much do you think it would have cost you to take care of this cat for 6 months?
Well, to feed it and give it cat litter, I don't know, not too much. What? How much does cat food cost? $10 or litter. Or, but we bought a sack of...
Oh, please, this is, this is not a price club. Let me just take a quick look at the vet records.
Apparently he had eaten something as well, and then, so he had to have some kind of surgery to remove plastic stuff out of his stomach. So he was choking that up and throwing it up. And
you neutered this cat?
Yes. He was also very sick, so.
You think neutering him made him feel better?
No, not
I doubt
really.
that.
Well, no, they didn't want to do the procedure right away.
Is that right, Bert?
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm going to give you $500 for taking care of this cat, and that's it. I'm not giving you anything for your toe. I'm not giving you anything for pain and suffering. I think what you should have done is, as soon as they came for their cat, you should have given them their cat back, and then you would have avoided all this problem. If you wanted to take them to small claims court, you could have done that. I don't believe that he intentionally stepped on your toe. I think it was an incident that was provoked by your husband grabbing his body. If he did step on your toe, he stepped on your toe, and it was purely an accident for which you don't get compensation. But I think that they took good care of your animal. I think that the cat was, according to these records, suffering from some sort of intestinal malady that they took care of, and you should joyfully pay him the $500. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
he initiated the physical contact, that he did break her toe even before I touched him, and we're just not happy at all.
I think justice was served, and they obviously want to be opportunists and try to make something off this case.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ephraim versus Walker Curry. Step forward, please.
16-year-old student Aisha Ephraim wants her former friend, 17-year-old student Tyrone Curry, to pay for the necklace he snatched from her neck.
Why don't the two moms sit down? You were sitting in class.
Yeah.
Which class?
4th period Spanish.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
We were having conversation as we sat in class, and he jumped up and he grabbed
Was
my...
he sitting next to you?
Yes. Oh. And he reached out and he grabbed my chain in the process. And when I asked him why he had done it, he said he was having a Vietnam flashback, which the scene comes from a movie that we had seen, Dead Presidents. He was reenacting the character.
And what happened to your medallion?
Well, it had a slit down the middle and my name was broken in half.
Let's hear your version of these events. Your name is Tyrone?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
All right, we were like done with our assignment and things, and so we didn't have anything else to do. So people got into groups and we're sitting and talking, and I had some work I needed to do for my 5th period English class. And so I sat and I was doing my work. And then the people behind me, they're talking about Aisha sitting by herself. So we laughed about that, and I said, Aisha, you look a little lonely over there, you know? And then she laughed or whatever, and then other people in the group called her over. The only desk that was open was the one in front of me, so she came and sat down in front of me. And as I was doing my work, she came and she was like, she flicked my pen a little bit.
What do you mean she flicked your pen a little bit? What does that mean?
Like I was writing, and she just hit the pen, like playful, to get my attention. Mm-hmm. And then, we started talking about the Dead Presidents movie. And then we started talking about the particular scene when Lorenz Tate choked it.
When what?
Well, Lorenz Tate.
Yeah.
When he choked his girlfriend.
I didn't see the movie.
Oh, well, he had came back from Vietnam, and he was supposed to be like, kind of crazy or whatever. And she had came up on him and was yelling at him, and he choked her. And her boyfriend was supposed to be going into the service and everything. And I said, what if he did you like that? And then she was saying that he wouldn't do her like that, and she would do him like this. And she came and grabbed me, and I pushed her back.
She came and grabbed you how?
We were sitting in front of each other, so she just turned and put her hands on my neck.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You were fooling around with each other.
We both watched the two of them play around a lot.
Listen, you never know what happens.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 16-year-old student Aisha Ephraim wants her former friend, 17-year-old student Tyrone Curry, to pay for the necklace he snatched from her neck.
Okay. So then you look down at your medallion. Now, it wasn't broken in two pieces at that point. It was just bent.
No, it was broken in two pieces.
So it was totally apart?
Yes.
And did you have it fixed?
Yeah, here it is now.
Good. And how much did you pay to have it fixed?
My mom paid $90 total to have it all fixed and repaired.
Do you have the receipt?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? This says exchange gold necklace, 22 inches, cannot repair to customer satisfaction.
Yes.
Well, what does that mean?
No, they couldn't fix it. If they would have fixed it, it would have left a scar. So he let me trade this one in, trade the one I had in that was identical to this one, and paid a difference of $80 or something.
It says $80.
Okay. And he was able to fix the name.
Name cost $10. He just soldered it together.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. So, Tyrone, what do you think?
Well, it was like, it wasn't just like it was my fault. Like I just jumped and like tried to take her chain or something.
No,
You know,
nobody's suggesting, sir, that you try to take her chain. You were fooling around with each other.
Yeah, and so I think we should have to pay equally, you know, the $90.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Okay, when I originally talked to Mrs. Ephraim, she told me that she had the chain fixed, the medallion fixed and everything, and it was $28. The last that I heard from her, she was supposed to bring me a receipt showing that she had it fixed, and it cost $28 to have fixed. I want to know, how did it jump from $28 to $90 all of a sudden?
I never told you it was $28.
That's what you stated. And I told you that I thought it was very petty, that I felt that, we went through this the whole summer with the two of them jumping around, playing with each other, because I'm the director at the Boys and Girls Club, and Aisha was one of my youth workers, along with my son, Tyrone. The whole summer, I supervised them. Mrs. Ephraim even came in and she stayed some days. We both watched the two of them play around a lot. So I felt, why should Tyrone sit up and pay for some jewelry that both of them were playing around?
Let me tell you why. Because sometimes when you play around, nothing happens.
True.
And sometimes when you play around, something gets damaged.
Right.
So that you're supposed to be smart. She started to fool around with him, and he says, listen, you never know what happens.
Exactly.
I'm going to ignore this gal. Right?
With Aisha, it's kind of hard to do.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. What I'm telling you is he had options.
Yes, he did.
All right. And we're not talking about a major, she could have gotten hurt.
True.
Or he could have gotten hurt. And I guarantee you this, if they were fooling around, and if, for instance, she grabbed at him and chipped his tooth, even though they were both fooling around, I would hold her responsible.
Believe me, that has happened too.
So he's got to pay for the damage. You have a job?
No.
Huh?
No.
Get one. Good. It's not a big deal. It's a good lesson. It's going to cost you $90. Judgment for the plaintiff, $90. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Maxwell is suing her ex-husband, satellite technician Scott Osment, for their child's medical bills. Scott says he gives half his salary and will pay no more.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 177 on the calendar in the matter of Maxwell versus Osment. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Maxwell, let me try to get the sequence of events.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married to the defendant?
In December 21st, 1991.
And you have one child together?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that child born?
November 1st of 1994.
Girl.
Girl, yes, ma'am.
And when did you separate from the defendant?
In January of 95, Your Honor.
And when were you divorced?
We were divorced August 11th, 1997.
Now you are suing the defendant for unreimbursed medical costs that you incurred for your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
From what date to what date?
From April 14th, 1997 to present, Your Honor.
Now, your divorce decree provided for him to pay for what with regard to medical bills?
Half of everything.
Now, how much does he owe you, according to you, for the child's unreimbursed medical bills?
$1,982.05.
Can I see what you have there? Now, when did you first make a demand for that money?
I started making a demand for this money in November of 1997, Your Honor. I've made demands for it. He told me he would never pay a dime of medical costs. He told me he would never pay for anything for her at all.
True.
Why is that, sir?
For the past year, Your Honor, I've been paying over half my wages. I brought proof of that.
For what?
For child support, because they made it at $424 per month, which is over half my wages, rendering me with about $100 a week to live on. Neither one of our jobs were...
$424 per month for child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what the judgment of divorce provided for?
At first, yes. We went to court 1 week ago on July 1st, and they saw fit to modify the child support to $251 to a reasonable rate. I proved to the judge that I'm just not making it. I'm trying to go to college at night. At this point, I brought proof of my payroll. I don't know where I would get it at this point.
Let me see.
The net pay shows what...
No, I'll read it. I'm really good at that.
I know you are.
Your Honor, I'd like to say something, if I may. Mr. Osmond has only paid $424 for the first 2 months from April to July of 1997. Then he got his child support reduced to $113 per month. And then in January, it went back up to $424, and then he just got it reduced again to $250.
Mr. Osmond,
yes, ma'am.
From January of 1995, which is when you separated from your former wife, until April of 1997, how much child support did you pay?
I gave her at least $50 to $100 a month. I didn't give her as much.
50, just a second. So between 1995 and 1997, according to you, you gave her between $50 and $75 a month. Is that right?
Can I say something?
Yes.
The reason for that, at that time, when we did separate, I was left with the apartment and everything else. Our visitation schedule set up, I would have to go down there. I lived in Palm Springs, she lived in Orange County. Drive there, get them, bring them back, because we couldn't stay there for the visitation. Go all the way back. I had to work the Saturday. That pretty much ate that money up. I had no more money left.
Well, how'd you expect your daughter to be supported?
Work as hard as I could, do the best I could.
Well, that's not doing the best you can, sir. $50 a month, assuming that you paid it, which she seems to doubt.
No, he
She
didn't.
says you didn't pay it. But assuming that you paid somewhere around $50 a month, you can't keep a cat for $50 a month.
You're right, Your Honor.
This isn't a cat, this is your child.
I've been paying, I haven't missed a payment since we've been doing this.
Mr. Osmond, what you're telling me that since you were put under a court order, you managed to pay $424 a month, and then you managed to pay $113 a month, and then you paid $250 a month. So when a court told you to pay $424 a month, you paid it. When a court told you you had to pay $113 a month, you paid it. When a court told you had to pay $250 a month, you paid it. But when no court told you that you had to pay more, according to you, you gave her $50 a month. Is that what you're telling me? That's what it sounds like.
No, I'm telling you that due to the situation at the beginning of that, I had no more money.
So what you're telling me, sir, is that as soon as the court told you you had to pay $424 a month, all of a sudden, miraculously, the good fairy came and dropped enough money for you to pay $424 a month.
They took it from me. They garnished
They took it out of your salary.
Right.
Right.
They garnished my wages.
Absolutely right.
That's why I lost my car, my apartment, everything I had.
Oh, just a second. What kind of car did you have?
I had a little Toyota.
Little Toyota.
That I paid $177 a month for. And
so what you're telling me is, sir, From 1995 to 1997, you paid more for your car than you did for your child. 3 times as much. 3 times as much.
That's not what I'm telling you.
Your Honor, I just, in the last court case, in our last hearing, he has acquired a brand new car, and he has acquired financing for that brand new car because it was on his last income and expense declaration for the new court case that he has a brand new car that he pays $334 a month for.
Pay $334 a month for a car, sir?
My mother helps me with that.
Oh.
So that I can get around.
Just a second, is your mother a good grandmother?
They won't allow her to see her.
Just a second, is your mother a good grandmother?
She is. They won't allow her to see her.
You mean there's a restraining order that prevents your mother from seeing the child?
I've never done
Jump!
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. Is there a restraining order that prevents your mother from seeing the child?
No, Your Honor, there is not.
So that when you have your daughter for visitation, you want her to see your mother, you go over and you take her to visit your mother. What do you mean they prevent you? That's what you do. So your mother, if she's a good grandmother, she doesn't give you $350 a month to pay for a car. So what you're telling me now is you still pay more for your car than you pay for your daughter. And there was a time when you got along with an old Toyota for $177 a month, but now you need a $350 a month car when you've asked to have your child support reduced to half. You sound like you have your priorities all screwed up, Mr. Osmond.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she sued me for costing me $8,000 last year, suing me for $1 million.
What kind of $1 million lawsuit? I'm just curious.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Maxwell is suing her ex-husband, Scott Osmond, for their child's medical bills. Scott says he gives half his salary and will pay no more.
Judgment in this case is very easy. The Supreme Court of this state has directed that, sir, that you pay for 1/2 of all unreimbursed medical bills. That you will do. That one child is your priority, not your car, not your mother, not your fiancé, not anything else. Aside from bare sustenance to keep you alive, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take care of the children that you make. In this case, you really haven't done that, sir, unless you've been under the gun of a court order. The total bills here, which have been added up, clearly indicate that you owe her 1/2 of those bills, which are $1,982.05, Mr. Osmond. Pay it! That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
I think Judge Judy did exactly what I hoped she had done, give me back the justice that is deserved for my daughter. He doesn't even know what the mean father is.
I'm just happy she's going on with her life. That's what I need for her to do. She's a good mother for my child, but she needs to go on with her life emotionally. I have.
And now the next case.
Parties on Baloo versus Baloo. Step forward, please.
39-year-old independent contractor Cynthia Ballou is suing her ex-husband, 43-year-old salesman Joseph Ballou, for not paying his share of their children's medical and dental bills. Joseph says he was never consulted.
You folks were once married and now divorced. You have 2 children.
Yes, ma'am.
This case is about some unreimbursed medical and dental bills for the 2 children. How old are your children, sir?
Almost 16 and 14.
And how long have you been divorced?
Since 1995.
What are these medical and dental bills for?
For dental treatment for Tracy, for a gum condition which caused her teeth to become loose and
So
swelling.
mostly dental bills?
Yes.
And how much were the dental bills?
The total dental bills was $781.
And that was for mostly routine care, not orthodontic work or anything else?
It's not for braces, no. Her teeth are porous and her gums are in poor condition.
Okay. Mr. Ballou, does your divorce decree provide that you're supposed to pay for half of the unreimbursed dental and medical bills?
Providing that she discusses the matter with me, yes, beforehand.
So you're supposed to be consulted?
Exactly.
And that's really your defense?
That
well, you
is-
have 2 defenses. One, that you weren't consulted, and the second one is that your fiancé, is that your fiancé, has a brother who's a dentist, and you would have taken your children to her brother.
That would have been my suggestion, yes, rather than send her to Oceanside, 100 miles away.
Was that the dentist that the children always used?
Not to my knowledge. We did have a dentist in Woodland Hills.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Ballou. You made these 2 children with your former wife. She a good mother?
It's debatable.
If I asked her that question, if you're a good father, would she say debatable?
She would say I'm terrible. She's been persecuting me.
All right. This lady doesn't look like the kind of lady that would allow anybody to invasively cut into one of the children if it wasn't necessary. This isn't a big bill, Mr. Ballou.
No, it's not. The whole problem here is that she is doing something that she's not allowed to do. The court has ordered her to discuss the matter with me. If she chooses to do it on her own, then she should take responsibility on her own.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that if a judgment of divorce provides that there's supposed to be consultation, which I'm sure yours does, is that right?
But he knew.
Just, that's not, knowing is not consulting, Mrs. Ballou. That's what his complaint is. You know, all too often when parties get divorced and they put that little phrase in the divorce decree, which is, you know, the non-custodial parent is to be consulted with regard to any non-emergency medical or dental treatment. People think that that's sort of a, you know, stock thing you don't have to pay much attention to. And Mrs. Ballou, the truth of the matter is that sometimes it's a very troublesome little clause, because if the non-custodial parent feels like your husband former husband feels, that, well, I'm the father and I should really be consulted, because that's what it says there. I'm not just somebody who's supposed to write out a check.
Right.
I'm supposed to be a parent, and if we were together, the two of you would sit down over the kitchen table and say, this is a good dentist, and he would talk to you about it, and you would talk to him about it, and he would say, well, I guess we'll have to go and take care of it.
Can I expound on it a little bit?
Sure.
During the time of her visits, Mr. Ballou quit his employment, and I was facing relocation in August 1st. That's why we went to Oceanside, because I had inspected units to relocate and filed for a transfer to move down there because of...
Mr. Ballou, stop shuffling around with the papers. Listen to your former wife. Maybe you'll get something from it.
I was in the process of relocating because I ran out of money and he wasn't paying. That's why we went to Oceanside, because my mom was down there and she was going to help us out. Tracy's treatment wasn't one time. She went 5 different times because they had to break it apart. And he knew what she was going for, and he supported the action then.
How do you know he supported the action then?
Because he would say, that's good, that's fine, go down there and take care of it.
To whom did I... Sorry.
The weekend and the trips down there were arranged around his visitation, so it wouldn't interrupt the opportunity for him to see.
Okay.
I mean...
I'm not doubting, and he wouldn't tell me, if he was being honest, that he didn't know she was undergoing these treatments. You knew she was undergoing the treatments.
I knew she was going down there. I found out from my daughter.
You're the fiancé?
Yeah,
I would suggest if you want to be a good fiancé and be on reasonable terms with her, you not say anything.
But
long term, not just for a court date.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's an emotional thing. You want to stick it to her, right?
Yes. That money could have gone towards my kids rather than me having to sell my truck to pay for an attorney.
Whatever.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Cynthia Ballou wants her ex-husband, Joseph Ballou, to pay his share of their kids' medical and dental bills.
3 of you, I assume, are going to have to get along for a while. So they have a history together. You don't have a history. So.
But I know what's going on in the background. That's not true.
I'm not interested in the background, madam. I'm interested in what I see. What I see is a dental bill for $781. She wants half. His defense is that this procedure was taken and done on one of his children without his being consulted first. That's his complaint. And that is against what the judgment of divorce provided for. Plaintiff says, if I'm gathering this correctly, that while he may not have been consulted, he certainly knew about the procedure, and you agree that you knew about the procedure because you were visiting with the children.
I knew that she was having work done.
Okay. So it's a rather novel issue, and something that you really have to work out long term, because the kids have still a long way to go before they reach their majority. You have to consult him. Not just do it and tell him, because that's what the judgment of divorce provides for. And even if it didn't, it would be the right thing to do, to consult him. On the other hand, Mr. Ballou, she didn't do it this time. I'm directing her that she, in the future, whenever the children need non-emergency care, and I assume you're not talking about if the kids get a sore throat or get a strep or something and she has to take the kids for a relatively routine procedure that she has to call and consult with you first. You wouldn't expect her to do that, would you?
Well, she has union benefits that cover this. No, I would
Even
not
if she
expect
didn't,
it.
right? Because that's sort of silly. But this was an ongoing procedure that, you know, was costly. You wouldn't want your child to go without a procedure that was necessary. So in the future, Mrs. Ballou, in the future, you have to consult him.
Okay.
Because he is their father. You visit with the children
Yes, I do.
regularly?
Every other weekend I have them.
Great. When do you pick them up?
Usually, depending on whether or not I work on Saturday, either pick them up after work Friday or after work Saturday.
And you have a nice relationship with them?
Yes, I do.
That's good. You want to say anything else to me?
Well, I don't believe that she should be reimbursed this amount of money. Her reasons for her idea of discussing this is, be advised, Tracy has a dentist appointment on June 28th or June 29th. She sued me for costing me $8,000 last year, suing me for $1 million, which that money could have gone towards my kids rather than me have to sell my truck to pay for an attorney.
Is that an old lawsuit that's over?
This is, yeah, she dropped it right before she filed this
What
lawsuit.
kind of $1 million lawsuit? I'm just curious.
He went to my bank in December and obtained my bank records without a subpoena or consent. Then filed for modification of child support, stating he didn't have enough money to pay child support and quit his job shortly thereafter.
Okay, so what you were being sued for was getting her bank records without a consent. Is that what you were suing him for, but then you
Yes.
dropped that lawsuit?
Yes, we narrowed down the responsible parties.
Whatever.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Ballou, listen to me. You have 2 kids. You are always going to have these 2 children as your responsibility. Trust me, even when they're past 18 or 21 years old, they're still going to be expensive. Right now, your bill for this, Mr. Ballou, your half is $390. Not such a big deal. I am, however, advising you, Mrs. Ballou, that writing him a note saying to him, you are advised that Tracy is going for this treatment, is not the same as consultation. Consultation is talking to him before the fact. It's an emotional thing, right?
Yes.
You should not unreasonably withhold your consent because you have to think about what's in the best interest of the children, not that you want to stick it to her. And you shouldn't feel as if you want to stick it to him for any reason either by giving him one of these, I'm advising you that. It's just not the right thing to do. Try to be nice to each other. You don't live with each other. It's easier. So I'm awarding you your $390, but with this proviso, madam. In the future, consult means consult, not dictate. You got it?
Okay.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, just Betty Sharp for a Sony PlayStation.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, it's number 242 on the calendar in the matter of Pennington versus Sharp. All parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat, please.
This is some interesting case. Miss Pennington, the defendant is your boyfriend's wife.
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yes.
Is this the boyfriend?
Uh-huh.
According to you, you met him, he told you he was separated from his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly thereafter, you moved in to his home.
Uh-huh.
How long did you know him before you moved in?
Probably about a year.
And you say that you knew his wife and child lived somewhere out of town.
Yeah, in Northern California. I didn't know her personally, but I know of her.
And according to you, there were times that she would come down to visit or to bring the child down to see the father. Is that what he told
they were
you?
still married. They had, medical benefits, and she would come down and see the doctor and so forth.
That's what he told you?
Yes.
And at the times that she would come down, you would leave the house?
Yes.
So you really never met her?
No.
How often did this happen that she came down?
She probably came down maybe 4 times a year.
Okay. And were there any weekends when he left the house? Any times that he left the house for a couple of days at a time?
Yes, some holidays. A couple of holidays.
Where did he go?
Up to Northern California to visit his little boy.
Okay. And according to your complaint, while you were there, you purchased a PlayStation. I sort of know what that is from my grandchildren.
Yeah.
That goes into a computer, you play games on a...
Yes, video game.
Video games. And you purchased that, for what? For you to play with?
Yeah, for both of us, and for whenever his little boy comes down, for he could have something, entertainment for him.
Who bought it?
I did.
And you have proof that you bought it?
She was smart enough to take the receipts. When she took the game with her, I was able to retrieve some from the store that I bought. That's good. And some of the video games I was not able to get the receipts.
But the PlayStation you got a receipt for and everything else? All right, let me see. Well, this all says that it was sold to William Sharp.
Well, when I moved in with them, I never shopped at the Good Guys before. So they put everything in computer, so we just put it under his name.
But it said it was sold to him.
No.
That's what these receipts say, that it was sold to him.
Okay, but I paid for it with my money. I had it put in the computer under his name.
Show me that you paid for it.
She took the receipts with her.
Not the receipts. Show me your checks.
Oh, I paid for it with cash. I paid all my items with cash.
All right. In any event, they came down one day and she took the PlayStation. So that's what you're suing for.
Yeah.
Is that right? Now, Mrs. Sharp.
Yes.
According to you, you and your husband were very much together, and you were attending school in Northern California.
Right.
What kind of school were you attending?
The cosmetology.
And you have family that lives in Northern California. And you had an arrangement with your husband so that you could attend school in Northern California.
Right.
You'd have family to watch your son while you attended school.
Right.
And then you would come down.
Every 2 or 3 weeks, I come down to visit my husband, and this girl wasn't there. And then every holiday, my husband come up to see me and my son. He never mentioned he cheating behind my back.
Tell me how you decided to go up to Northern California.
That's my handsome husband idea right there. Cheating on me and
what
tell
did he say?
everybody.
No, Mr. Sharp, what did he say to you?
He said to me, honey, we cannot live in one income, and we cannot buy the house and second car for you, go to work and take Michael, our son, to school. That's what he planned. He planned the whole thing.
Just a second. So he said to you, go to where your parents are.
Right. He told me go up there because the school just about 8 months. And then we can have the better life. And when I come back, he will buy me the car and we move into bedroom and big house better for, our family.
So you did come down one day and you saw this PlayStation in the house.
No. When I up there with my mom, one night, my husband called me, say, honey, I bought, the video game for our son when he come back next week. And he will so, exciting to see it. But don't let him know about that.
Don't let him know about it?
Yes. And then we came back and, and he saw us, that the, video game there for Michael to play. And he purchased this video game for my son.
Then you found out that this lady was living there?
No.
Well, tell me how you found out about her.
When I returned I graduated from my school.
You graduated?
March, yes, I graduated. I finished school after 8 months. I came back the house. My stuff still over there. Everything still belonged to me over there. Still in the house right now.
Your stuff was all there?
Yes, still right there. I came back And, you know, with my husband, I don't know anything about he cheating me behind my back. And I have some phone call all the time to my house and then hang up. You know, I still, you know, thinking my husband cheating me, but I try, you know, don't want to believe it. And I still asking him, did you cheating behind my back when I wasn't home? And he said no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Were you convicted of domestic violence in 1994?
No,
sure
Your
you
Honor.
were.
Please come over.
Shut.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Martha Pennington wants her boyfriend, Skip Sharp's estranged wife, Betty Sharp, to return a video game. Betty says the PlayStation belongs to her son, and she wants it back since Martha got her husband.
So you left and you took the PlayStation with you, eventually?
I left on the October 1st. And before I doing that, because my husband beating me up and choking me, and the police come over. And then I decide to leave the house. Finally, I decide, you know, no more to, you know, let him abuse me. And I asked him, you know, okay, can I take the, you know, the video game from my son? And Michael asked his father, and his father said, oh, yes, baby, you can have the video game. He never mentioned to me, and this girl, you know, purchased for Michael.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me the arrangement that you had with her, with your wife, when she moved up north.
We separated back in 1994. She got moved out of the house, took her stuff in a U-Haul up to her parents' house.
In 1994?
That's when the first filing for separation was.
Just a second. But then you got back together again.
No. Because we didn't finish the divorce proceedings, I extended medical benefits to her and my son.
How old is your son?
He's 5.
Did your son play with the PlayStation?
While he was down and she was taking care of her teeth, her orthodontist and dentist, and then she was going to go back up. Go back to her mom. I moved her a bed, her clothes, her dishes, toys for the son, everything that she had. The only thing that she came back for was to purge my records of any trail of her running my charge cards up and any kind of information that public debt or that we had, communal debt is what it's called.
All right. Then, do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a computer technician.
So you make a reasonable living?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you think it would be smarter of you, Mr. Sharp, to say, forget about it. I don't want to get involved with this. Let my son keep the PlayStation. We'll get another one. Mr. Sharp,
Your
does that
Honor.
sound reasonable to you?
Your Honor?
Yeah.
We're talking principle here.
No, I'm talking about father here. You're talking about principle, I'm talking about father.
Okay, I agree with what you say.
Okay.
Fundamentally, but I am being bowled over by Mrs. Sharp. She takes and takes and takes and runs me into the ground. Mrs. Pennington, if this was a car and...
Just, we're not talking about a car.
Okay,
Your
I'm
5-year-old doesn't drive a car. 5-year-olds, however, do play with PlayStations. He took it. She left, and she took the PlayStation. She had never met your girlfriend, so she didn't know of her existence. And she came, and she got ticked off because she found that after 5 years, you now had a girlfriend living with you. She said, I'm leaving, I'm going back to my mother. And she took the PlayStation with her for your son. It's not a car. It's a toy for the child. It's a toy. It's an expensive toy.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
I am already being held accountable for over $1,000 a month for support, spousal. I cannot come up with...
Just a second. Up, put your hand down. Mr. Sharp.
Your Honor, he's supposed to pay me $1,300 a month.
How long has he been under court order to pay you $1,300 a month?
I just filed a divorce November, and the court ordered him to pay me in 2 years for $1,300 a month. And, you know, he told me...
Just a second. Are you saying in November of 1997?
Yes.
The court ordered him to pay you $1,300 a month?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you take the PlayStation? What month?
On October 1st, 1997.
You have proof for me, sir, that your divorce action was pending in 1994?
I do not.
Let me see what you
I
have.
have the divorce file.
Let me
on-
see. Come.
I filed on October 15, 1997. We never been separated before either. He lied.
Judge?
Yes.
This is the second time that she filed for this. We had been separated since the first time.
Were you convicted of domestic violence, sir, in 1994?
Your Honor, there was no...
Yes.
Were you convicted of domestic violence in
No.
1994?
No,
Sure
Your
you
Honor.
were.
Please come over.
Shut up. You're William Oscar Sharp, aren't you?
Yes, Your Honor.
The date of the violation was 9/5/94.
And that's when she moved up to Northern California and...
Mr. Sharp, I didn't ask you whether you moved. I said,
Okay.
were you ever convicted of domestic violence?
Not to my knowledge. I never appeared in front of anybody. I never was in court. I was never served papers. I don't know what that is about, Your Honor.
You don't?
Is this her statement?
No, sir. These are court papers, including directions for you to take certain medical testing. You don't know anything about that?
No. Domestic violence, no. Solicitation. I got arrested for solicitation and had to get a test for HIV at that point in time. But there's no battery or domestic violence.
Oh, well, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's for something else that you were placed on probation for 3 years.
That is for solicitation. With her not being in the house for months at a time, I'm sorry. I went out and strayed. And that's what that's for.
Yeah.
And that's what that's for.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you prepared to say to your son, you have to give me back the PlayStation that's at your house?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Oh, Mr. Sharp.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Martha Pennington is suing for the return of a video game from her boyfriend's estranged wife, Betty Sharp. Betty says her husband, Skip Sharp, bought it for their son.
Oh, sounds like a sordid mess to me.
Yes, ma'am, it sure is.
Sure is.
I have had to dodge cell phones, handheld remotes for TV, various other things flying from her, kicking. This woman would go in the bedroom, hit her head on the wall, pound on door jambs, and make it look like I was molesting, domestically abusing her. And none of it is the truth.
Shh. Hey.
May I ask the defendant how many times she hit her head on the wall in the bedroom of our residence?
What do you think? She's going to give you an answer you want to hear,
We're
Mr. Sharp?
under oath.
Just a second, Mr. Sharp. You think that this lady, if she lied to me, according to you, about everything else,
You're
you think
right.
she's going to answer
You're right.
honestly about how many times she hit her whole head against the wall?
Point well made.
All right. Shh. Mr. Sharp, let me ask you this question, sir. Are you prepared to say to your son, what's your son's name?
Michael.
Michael, you have to give me back the PlayStation that's at your house.
Yes.
You're prepared to say that to him?
I am prepared to look him in the eye and let him know that it's for him to play with when he's down here. It was taken. He knows.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes, ma'am.
Just answer my question,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
I'm just trying to figure out what kind of person you are. Are you prepared to say to your son, Mommy is going to pack up the PlayStation and it's going to be returned to my house because it belongs to me and I will keep it in my house and let you play with it when you come to my house? Are you prepared to say that to your son?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Oh, Mr. Sharp.
This person has used this.
I'm not talking about her. She may be the most vile person in the world. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Sharp, quite frankly, I have a tendency to believe most of your story because I think she's a little full of baloney. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe that she didn't live there, that she came back to visit, to take these medical treatments that she came back for because she had your insurance. I see from her own sworn papers that according to her, was domestic violence in 1994 and 1995, which seems to suggest that at that time she left. Seems to suggest that in the papers, and that there was only another incident recently in 1997, after which she filed this, according to you, second proceeding for divorce. So there are things in those papers that I saw, Mr. Sharp, that suggest to me that she's full of baloney. That's not my issue. You see, Michael is the innocent.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's the innocent. And if he's got, according to you, a miserable, conniving mother, if somebody's going to set an example for him, it's going to have to be his father. Right?
Your Honor, may I address the court?
Now, why don't you just listen?
Okay.
He's not going to understand that your girlfriend bought the PlayStation and now you want it back. 5-year-olds don't understand that, Mr. Sharp. And that's the bottom line, that he will know that his toy was taken away because his daddy wanted to give it to his girlfriend. Because that's what she's going to tell him. And I can't prevent that. Is that what you want?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I don't believe her.
I
don't believe her.
Your Honor, I don't sue anybody video game. And
That's a lie.
I'm not going to give it back.
You
because I
didn't
don't
pay
steal
for
it.
it.
You
You
can
keep it.
ask my son.
You keep it.
No, you can ask my son. This video game belongs to my son. And if he wants to give back, if he, up to him. I don't mind.
Mr. Sharp.
This game belongs to my son. And you can talk to him if you want.
I'm not going to talk to him. I think that you two people have already done enough damage, and I don't think that either one of you are operating in your son's best interest, quite
You're
frankly.
not.
I really don't. I do believe that the video game was purchased to keep in his house while the child was there visiting with him, because that's what fathers do. That's what non-custodial fathers do. They buy these lovely games for the kids so that the kids have a good time when they come to their house, okay? Not buy it and give it to you to take to your house so he has a good time in your house. That's just not the way things work, common sense. I'm awarding you $250. Consider yourselves lucky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here you are.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't think this fair at all. My husband liar and keep lying. Everybody, you believe in him. That's not fair for me. He liar.
It's good that this is over. We have to move forward that it's over. But this is the bitterness that I'm leaving behind. When you marry someone, make sure it's the right one. Let her talk. She's the one with the big mouth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, and also don't cheat.
Say their daughter, Carmen's former boyfriend, 19-year-old Danny Saines, borrowed a gold chain from her and won't give it back. Danny says it was a gift from their daughter.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Saines. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is your daughter.
Yes.
Yes.
And this used to be her boyfriend.
Yes.
Your complaint says that your daughter was wearing a necklace
That's correct.
that really belonged to you,
That's correct.
that he borrowed, never returned it, and when you asked him about it, he said he sold it. Mr. Saines?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that those items were gifts to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Gifts to you from this young lady right here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you weren't there when the exchange of the necklace took place, were you?
No.
No, I wasn't.
But she was. So why don't you have a seat? You step up here. Miss Jones, you were dating this young man?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
Approximately about 2 months.
And there came a time, Miss Jones, when he came into possession of a necklace that you were wearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose necklace was it?
My father's.
And how long had you been wearing it?
About 1 week.
So you tell me in your own words how it came about that he was wearing the chain.
We were
Now look over here.
Oh, okay. We were at his friend's house, and
over here,
he wanted to see the chain, and he took it from around my neck, and he left and went somewhere. He also took $20 from my purse and told me he was gonna come right back, and he never came back until the next day. And when he came back, he told me the chain was over his friend's at his house, and a friend was gonna give it back to me.
Can I talk now?
Right.
First of all, Your Honor, she's lying.
Over here. Don't tell me she's lying. You tell me your version of how you got
my
possession.
version start.
Don't try to talk over me. I'm not finished.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You have to wait until I take a breath. First of all, how old are you, sir?
I'm 19.
And how old are you?
I'm 16.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I had a party, a going-away party and a birthday party. I was leaving to go to Texas on the 24th of May. My birthday was
Where do you
June
live?
12th. St. Louis, Missouri.
Is that where you're from, too?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I had the party the week before I left because I didn't plan on being back by the time my birthday got there. So we had the birthday party. Her and her cousin danced at the party. At the end of the party, everybody was gone except for me, my witness, and 3 other guys. She gave me the chain, told me happy birthday.
He's lying. He saw the chain when I first put it on the same week. The day that he's referring to is not even the same day he took the chain and left off somewhere. It was on a totally different day. This is way before this because—
Just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is what you're telling me that he took the chain off your neck well before the birthday party?
Yes, ma'am.
How much before?
About 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
2 to 3, that's a long time.
Yes.
And this was an expensive chain.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume since it was an expensive chain, your father or your mother said to you, where is the chain that you were wearing around your neck? I assume that they said that to you for this 2 or 3 weeks before the birthday party. You did go to the birthday party. Were you a dancer at the birthday party?
Not really, Your Honor.
What do you mean, not really? What does that mean?
It means no.
I don't believe that.
I mean, the way he's referring it is that I was a stripper or something.
No, dancer.
No, stripper. That's what
See?
I mean by dancer.
Well, I didn't.
No, that's
very ungallant of you, sir. Were you dancing at the party?
I was dancing. I wasn't stripping.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. You haven't had the chain on for 3 weeks before this party, according to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you ask her where the chain was?
Yes, I did.
During that 3-week period?
I asked her where the chain was, and she said that he had the chain around his neck.
This was before the birthday party?
This is before.
So did you contact him then?
I had been trying to contact...
No. Stand up here. No, this is... Just listen very carefully to the chronology.
Okay.
3 weeks before he was leaving, she says he took the chain off her neck. Now, when for the first time did you call him and say, that's my husband's chain, we want it back?
I had no contact with him until he called me, called her.
You mean?
He called and I asked to speak to him.
Miss Jones, listen to me carefully,
Yes.
madam. You say this chain is worth over $1,000.
Yes.
Your daughter has borrowed the chain from your husband.
Yes.
You see her come home and she's not wearing the chain.
Yes.
She says to you, my boyfriend
Yes.
took the chain off my neck, disappeared for a day, and didn't come back till the next day, leaving me without the chain.
Correct.
And you didn't say to her, get me his phone number right away, I want to call him?
Yes, I did.
So?
Yes.
Then you had 3 weeks to call him.
He was never at home, Your Honor, or never available
Did you know your daughter was going to be at his going-away party?
No, I didn't. I had no knowledge of that.
Miss Jones, I have a sense that there is a lot that you don't know about, because if I'm to believe this side of the table, I have to believe that your daughter kept things from you because you must have told her, I'm trying to reach him to get the chain back.
Yes.
She must have been in touch with him frequently over that 3-week period that she didn't have the chain, because arrangements were made for her. Put your hand down. Arrangements were made for her to dance and to be a guest at his party.
That she didn't tell me.
Of
she didn't
course.
tell me about the party.
So if I were
she
to
probably
believe,
didn't want me to know about the dancing either.
If I were to believe this young lady, then she was telling the truth to you and not telling the truth to me about this business. I have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. Don't you have a problem with that, Miss Jones?
I have a very serious problem with that.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Chain!
That's the reason we broke up.
Chain! I'm not interested why you broke up. I want to know about the chain.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy and Arthur Jones are suing their daughter's former boyfriend, Danny Saines, for the return of an expensive gold chain belonging to Mr. Jones. Danny says their daughter, Carmen, gave it to him, and he sold it.
Okay.
Your Honor, I talked to Danny Saines on the phone.
After he left or before?
While he was out in Texas.
I'm not talking about while he was out in Texas, madam. I'm talking about in the 3 weeks between the time your daughter says that he took the chain off her neck and the time she was dancing at his birthday party. And you're telling me that you tried to reach him during that 3-week period.
He was never at home. Never. I called, he never was at home.
And I assume you were discussing that with your daughter. Is that right, Miss Jones? You were discussing the fact that you kept trying to reach Mr. Saines and you couldn't reach him to get the chain back.
And then she called him. And when he called her from Texas.
Forget Texas. I don't want to hear anything more about Texas.
All right.
That's not the issue in this case, Miss Jones.
Yes.
The issue is whether your daughter told you the truth. Because if she didn't tell you the truth about how it came about that she took off this chain and gave it to Loverboy over here, right? Then it's very possible that she made him a gift.
No, she would never give up that chain. Her father would kill her.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yes, he would.
Her father clearly would kill her if she told a lie about giving up the chain. Yeah, what do you want to tell me?
Okay. The thing about the chain, we had tried to contact him. He would never return my pages.
So why did you go to dance at his party? If you were so angry with him for taking the chain, not returning it, your parents were aggravated. They were angry with you, they were angry with him. If I were to believe that, why did you go to say goodbye to him and dance at his party?
That was stupid. I shouldn't have done it.
And you didn't tell your mother that you were going. You didn't tell your father you were going.
No, I didn't.
Because if I were to believe this story about just taking it off and borrowing it, then it would seem to me that was the perfect time to get it back. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Now, you were present at the party?
Yes.
Tell me your name, sir.
Nicholas Dilworth.
Yes, Mr. Dilworth. So tell me what you saw at this party, this going-away party.
At the party, everything was all right. They were getting along and everything. She was dancing, the party was going on. But after the party, we were all in my backyard. And, you know, they were hugged up or whatever. And, you know, I seen the chain get taken off, put around his neck. I don't know what else happened, but I seen the chain get taken off, put around his neck.
Yes.
He was lying because this was on a totally different day that they are talking about. As far as him seeing the chain or whatever gets put around his neck, how could he have seen it if he was inside?
Were you watching him?
Yes, I was. I was
you
watching everyone.
You actually remember that as you're standing there?
I actually remember that.
You were snuzzling with him in the driveway, but watching him?
I wasn't snuggling with him in the driveway.
Why? What were you doing?
We were all standing outside, and people were coming outside, He couldn't have been outside then because he was inside with my cousin.
You know, she tells a good story.
I know this young man lies because he told me when he came into my home, I asked him, did he know how old my daughter was? He said, yes, she's 16. I said, well, how old are you? He said 17. So he lied about his age.
Ms. Jones, what does this have to do with it? Don't you realize that your daughter told you a lie? That she concealed things from you? Don't you
I know
accept
that, Your Honor. I said she wasn't perfect.
Well, she
and
did.
She's naive and young.
Doesn't look so naive to me.
She's naive and young.
Immature, maybe.
Stupid and young.
Well, sort of goes together, doesn't it?
Yes,
Those
it
two
does.
words, yeah.
Most young
All right,
people
now,
are.
so once I'm comfortable in my mind that I don't have the full story from you about how he got the chain, and it was probably a very good way for you to get out of the wrath of your father for giving away his chain. She's 16 years old, so she can't make a gift of property to you that sticks unless you have actually done something with it to your detriment. Don't try to talk to me yet.
All right.
Now, you have this chain and you're in Texas. And by the time you're in Texas, I do believe that Miss Jones over here did contact you about the chain.
That was after I returned from Texas, Your Honor.
Fine, you returned from Texas. Let's talk about you returned
when I
from
first
Texas.
returned from Texas,
Look at me.
I had talked to her on the phone. She started giving me this story about she was pregnant and all this and that. This was the second time I heard this. And she was telling this other guy the same story, but she was telling me both our babies. That's the reason we broke up.
Chain! Did I ask you a thing about why you broke up?
No, ma'am, but that's
I'm not interested why you broke up. I want to know about the chain.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Work.
No, I don't.
W-O-R-K. Job.
I don't work.
J-O-B. No.
No, ma'am.
Well, get one.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Peggy and Arthur Jones say their daughter, Carmen, was duped by her former boyfriend, Danny Saines, by not returning an expensive gold chain.
What'd you do with the chain?
The chain was sold to a friend of my cousin's.
Why did you sell it?
I didn't have any funds in Texas.
How much did you sell it for?
$100. I mean, he had the money, so I sold it to him.
Well.
But I mean, she already knew I was going to sell
Just
it.
a second. She already knew you were going to sell it?
Yeah, because she gave it to me as a birthday present. I wanted to call her and make sure it was okay.
Where would a 16-year-old girl get a $1,300 chain?
Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones.
I want you to be quiet.
Don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Your daughter didn't tell you the truth about this whole thing. You understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
She didn't. That's right. I know she didn't. She knows she didn't. She may be able to stand there and bald-faced lie to you, but you can't bald-faced lie to me. I was the mother of 5 teenage children, so I know what makes sense and what doesn't. And at the time she was doing her dance at his birthday party and he was leaving, she wanted to give him a little memento to remember her by when he went to Texas. Put your hands down. However, she's only 16. So you called her. Now let me hear about this conversation you allegedly had when you called her and said you wanted to sell the chain. How long were you there? For about a week?
Right. I had been in Texas for probably about 11 days. Because I was supposed to move down there for
Don't give me a whole sob story. You were in Texas for 11 days and you needed money.
Right. Anyway, she said it was all right. Don't worry about it. I mean, if I need the money, go ahead and do it. Because if she needed money, I gave it to her. So she was like, that's fine. So I went ahead and sold it. And she knew I was going to sell it because I called her before I even done it.
Excuse me. Can I say something?
Well, Mrs. Saines.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I never gave him the chain. I know that he knows this, and I know that he knows that I never.
Let me ask you a
gave him
question.
that
What would your father say to you if you came home and said to him, I'm sorry, Daddy, you know the chain you let me borrow? I gave it to Romeo over here. What do you think he'd do to you? Kill you, right?
Well.
Right? Ooh. Big time. Do you remember letting your daughter wear it?
Yes.
Okay. You have a bill, receipt for it?
We had a few canceled checks,
where we paid the store that I bought it from.
Let me take a
and on
look.
one of the checks it has,
Let me take a look.
it makes reference to the chain and watch I had purchased
Okay.
also.
What does this chain look like?
It was about approximately 25 inches, and it was a herringbone type.
What are you doing now, Mr. Sains?
Trying to get a contract, rapping.
A what?
Rap contract.
Well, while you're waiting to be discovered, what are you doing to eat?
Well, I mean, I still stay at home with my parents. I mean, I'm taken care of.
I really don't want to offend you. Work.
No, I don't work.
W-O-R-K, job.
I don't work.
J-O-B. No.
No, ma'am.
Well, get one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, Miss Jones, listen to me. You can't fool me, madam. I know what happened with this chain. I really don't believe you about how it all came about. I also believe that the chain wasn't yours to give away, that it belonged to your father. That I do believe. And I do believe that because he wouldn't wear any girly chain. He'd only wear a masculine-looking chain because he wants to be a rock star, a rap star. So he wouldn't wear any silly-looking chain. Now, other than doing whatever you do you have a job after school? What kind of job?
I work as a cashier at Old Country Buffet.
Okay. So I think that both of you were responsible for this. You're responsible, and she's responsible. So you are each responsible to make sure that your father and her father are whole. Do you understand? So you better take a lot of the money that you make because I'm attributing $650 to you and $650 to you. Now, yours is really $750 because if I believe you, you sold the chain for $100, which means you got an extra $100. So that reduces your debt to $550 and yours $750. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $750. The rest you get from her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The items were given to me as a birthday present, and it really doesn't matter how much they cost to me. I don't feel she made a good decision.
He's crazy, demented, deranged, slow. He a psycho, that's all I have to say.
You know, 16-year-olds can be a little naive and a
Do you
little
think I should tell you?
wild at times, so.
She needs to listen to us a little more, maybe.
Kevin Schmidt caused her to crash her car into a wall. Kevin says his car never touched hers.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 250 on the calendar in the matter of Saunders versus Schmidt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Saunders, do you live in the same housing complex as the defendant?
We own in the same place, but I don't believe he lives there.
But you own apartments in the same complex? Yes. According to your complaint, the defendant was driving in an erratic sort of manner one evening, and while his car never touched yours, he caused you to have an accident, correct?
I believe that, yes.
That caused you to not only damage your car, but a wall of the condo, right?
Yes.
So why don't you tell me how this happened? Because he seems to acknowledge certain things about his driving that evening, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's a crazy story, first of all.
Not so crazy.
It goes on and on. Okay,
no.
I was dropping off.
No. Doesn't go on and on. You're driving home that night. You pull into your condo complex, right?
Yes.
And it's dark.
Yes.
Late at night. What time?
2:15.
In the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Were you alone in the car or with anyone else?
I had just dropped off my friend
No,
Adam.
Miss Saunders, look at me.
Okay.
Were you alone in the car or with anyone else when this happened?
When the accident happened, no. I was alone.
You were alone. So you're driving in your complex alone, dark, 2 o'clock in the morning. And what happens?
I was getting chased by, I thought, somebody scary. I didn't know who it was. I kept looking behind me, the nose to tail through one lot and then on a main street. And then as I was entering my lot and realized that this car was still going to stay behind me and was following me in, and oh my gosh, I only have one entrance, one exit. I'm looking to see who it was. Hopefully I was thinking I would recognize them, hit the side of the carport wall. Actually, I thought I was stopped. I was going like 2 or 3 miles an hour. I was scared.
Okay. But it was dark, so you couldn't see in the car. You couldn't see in the car behind you.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Schmidt, you are out at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And you see this lady's car.
That's correct.
There are not a lot of cars out on the road at that hour.
Not at all.
So tell me what you did, sir.
I came into the complex approximately 1:30, 1:45. I checked my mail, and I was leaving the complex because I live on the other side of the complex. There's 2 entrances to the complex. I noticed Miss Saunders' vehicle to my left. She was dropping off a gentleman at the supermarket, about a 1/4 mile away from the house, really close by.
Okay.
Go ahead.
She proceeds to drive in front of me. I take a right-hand turn and follow behind her. I catch up to her pretty quickly.
Why?
It's only a 1/10 of a mile.
Why were you catching up with her?
Because I was wondering what the hell was going on. She was dropping some guy off at the supermarket, and she was married, and I just didn't understand it.
Just a sec. Shh, shh, shh. Miss Saunders. Shh. So you were curious?
Partly.
What's the other part?
I just came up upon her quick and flashed my lights.
Why?
I have no reason.
Hmm?
I don't have a reason. Just to say hello.
Well,
and
first
let her
of
know
all,
it was
what
me.
business of yours if she were dropping off half a dozen sailors at the supermarket and if she were married? What business is that of yours?
None of my business.
So you followed her?
Followed her, it was only 1/10 of a mile.
Assuming that's correct. You followed her for a 1/10 of a mile.
Into the complex where I also live.
Close up.
Correct.
And then at some point you flashed your lights. How many times did you flash your lights?
Once, twice at the most.
A couple of times. So that your lights went on. So
sure.
And that was to get her attention.
Correct. She was driving real slow at this point in time, and I was like, step it up.
So first you're following her, and then you wanted to go faster. Is that what I'm
She's
getting?
driving approximately 8 miles an hour into the complex. Yes, I did.
Why didn't you go around her?
It's only 1/10 of a mile from... I couldn't go around her. There's no possible way.
Well, if you weren't following her, you would have been ahead of her.
I wasn't following her. We lived
No,
in
if
the
you
same...
weren't following her that 1/10 of a mile to see who she was dropping off a 1/4 of a mile away, then you wouldn't have been... Then you would have been in the complex and safe and snug as a bug in a rug in your bed.
So be it.
Now, you acknowledge that she hit the side of this wall.
That's correct.
You saw that.
That's correct.
But you say that your car never came into contact with her car, and therefore you are not responsible for any of the damage. That's your position.
That's correct.
That's your position.
That's my position, that's my insurance company's position, and that's her insurance company's position.
It ain't my position. Put your hand down. Have to give your insurance company and her insurance company and you a brief lesson in tort law. Torts, you know what that is? Negligence. But for your conduct that night, Mr. Schmidt, this accident would not have taken place. Your reckless driving, reckless, and I don't care if you're going 2 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour, your reckless driving that night caused this woman, who had no idea who you were, you could have been a California stalker, for all she knew, following her at 2 o'clock in the morning into a deserted complex where she had to park her car. She had a good right to be nervous. You should have been smart enough to know if she turned around, she couldn't see you because it's dark. You can't see faces in a car at dark at night. Right? So you acted like a fool.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She wouldn't have been so startled if she hadn't dropped off her boyfriend a quarter mile down the road.
Okay. Who made you the morality monitor?
And later today,
her dog got into my backyard and killed my puppy.
She reported me as kidnapping a child in the neighborhood.
That was the day after she had my dogs taken away and euthanized.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sally Saunders hit a condo wall with her car after her neighbor, Kevin Schmidt, flashed his headlights at her, startling her. Kevin says his insurance company claims it wasn't his fault.
If some nut was following me at 2 o'clock in the morning as I was entering the parking lot of my complex, where I knew there would be no assistance, it would make me very nervous. And since you had been following her, according to you, for 1/10 of a mile, which is longer than from here to here, much longer. And once you got up real close to her, then you flashed your lights. That would make the heart of any reasonable person, man or woman, a little bit nervous. It might even make my good friend here, Officer Byrd, very nervous. Would it make you a little nervous?
Just a little, Judge.
He certainly wouldn't like it if somebody did that to his daughter.
Definitely not.
So, but for your actions that night, she wouldn't have damaged her car, and she wouldn't have damaged the carport. And if your insurance company doesn't appreciate that, and her insurance company doesn't appreciate that...
Mine does appreciate it, I'm sorry.
Just a second.
Okay.
Then if your insurance company appreciates it, just a second, then I assume that they're going to pay for some of the damage. Is that right? Shh. Just answer my question. Yes. Good, so that you have a certain amount of money that you're going to be out of pocket, which is, I assume now, what you're suing him for.
That's part of it.
What is your out-of-pocket expense for the car?
For the car, a $500 deductible.
Okay, and how much damage was done to the car?
Around $1,700.
But certainly you're going to be into your deductible. You just have an estimate?
It's already been done. I don't have the, yes, I have an estimate.
Okay. Let me just take a look at it.
Okay. Paperwork, I can't. Right.
Or anything from your insurance company.
Can I please say something about my insurance company? First of all, it was reversed. It was ruled to be his fault. The police report says, caused by Kevin Schmidt.
Ms. Saunders, do I look like I needed help? I've already ruled in your favor. I'm just trying to get an amount. And I got other things to do today. It's a long day.
Okay.
All right, so let's go. Just give me something from the insurance company which says that you're out of pocket $500 for the car. That's all I want to say.
Someday I hope I can find it. I don't know where it is right now. It's an estimate I just had printed up. It must be in the other papers in the background.
Okay. Are you telling me under oath that you are out of pocket $500 for the car?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now give me the cost of this that you're going to be charged for this carport.
My insurance company paid for it. I am not getting charged for it, in all honesty.
Fine. Well, of course I want you to be honest.
Yeah.
Good.
But
what?
Attorney's fees. I got charged with hit and run for this accident.
You did?
Yes, I did. Kevin is a board member at this association. I was going to go in and call the police. Got in the house. After Kevin said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything," you know, I said, "Well, let's call the police just to be sure." When we got in there, I didn't hit your car. They're going to say it's your fault, Sally. Why don't you claim it on your insurance? I'll take care of the deductible. Ended up calling the police in the morning. I said, you know, I need to go to sleep. I need to think about it. Him just being there, I notified the association because he is a board member. He represents the association. He ran across Rhea King, the resident manager there, early in the morning. She had seen, obviously, green paint on my car, the wall damaged. She must have hit it. They ran into each other, spoke, good morning, what's up, Kevin? Nothing, Rhea. Didn't say a word about it. She files a hit and run report. I go to court. Okay, there's the $975 for the attorney's fees.
You actually paid the $975?
Yes, I did.
You have a bill for that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Unbelievably, I do. These are everything pertaining to that. I'm supposed to bring it. Also, because I didn't pay my homeowner's dues, I believe that he's responsible for the whole snowball effect.
No. It's got to stop someplace.
Well,
Listen to
if
me.
I had to pay the attorney.
Then you couldn't pay your homeowner's dues, therefore you got to...
And that's where it ends.
Right.
That's what I feel he is connected with.
No, he's connected
with...
with...
And punitive damages also. Seriously, all the hours I put in and the stress, the embarrassment, the humiliation of going to court, it just went on and on.
Were you arrested?
Not put in jail, but cited, you know, for it at my home.
Cited for leaving the scene of an accident.
But I was in my home when I was cited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
I understand. And you don't think any of this is your fault?
I think part of it is my fault. No, I should not have flashed my lights. I do take some responsibility, yes.
Oh, don't you realize, Mr. Schmidt, that using the but-for test, but for your actions, she wouldn't have all this aggravation, that you are totally responsible?
She wouldn't have been so startled if she hadn't dropped off her boyfriend a quarter-mile down the road.
Okay, that's the issue here.
Sure. Ms. Saunders.
She told me that's why she was startled. She thought I was her husband.
Just a second.
Oh, my God.
Miss Saunders, who made you the morality monitor?
Plus,
you may be a board member, but you're certainly not the morality monitor. And if she wants to be nervous, let us assume that what you say is true. She dropped off her boyfriend and she was nervous. But for your actions, she wouldn't have been nervous and had an accident. She might have been nervous, but she wouldn't have had an accident.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you tell her that I caused the accident?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell her that I will take care of any repairs to the wall?
I did not.
Right, because that would have cost you money.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Sally Saunders hit a condo wall with her car after her neighbor, Kevin Schmidt, flashed his headlights at her, startling her. Kevin says his insurance company claims it wasn't his fault.
I believe that because you didn't fess up right from the beginning, that right from the beginning, next morning, you didn't tell the resident manager, listen, I caused an accident yesterday because I was acting like a moron. and I'm prepared to pay the damage for it. I know it was on, you know, Miss Saunders' car, and she actually hit the wall, but it was really my fault, and I'm going to take care of it. And say to her immediately, I'm going to take care of the car, that a whole snowball thing took hold, and she spent lots of time. She had to go to a lawyer. She had to spend time with a lawyer. She had to go to court. She probably suffered embarrassment, all because of you.
Judge, the resident manager and I had no words the next morning.
You should have.
I called her.
Just a second. You should have.
I did. I called her at 9 a.m.
And what happened?
And I asked her, I said, did you notice the damage to the wall?
Just a second. Yes.
She said, yes, I did.
Yes.
I go, do you know how it was caused? She said, yes, it did. And I said, that's why I'm calling you to let you know.
Just a second. And you said she said, yes, I do.
I wanted her to be apprised.
Just a second. Just a second. That conversation doesn't tell it, Mr. Schmidt. She says, yes, I do. Miss Saunders' car hit the wall because that's what she's saying, right? Because I saw the green paint on her car and I saw the green paint on her wall. Did you tell her that I caused the accident?
I told her that I startled Miss Saunders by my high beams of my car. Yes, I did.
And did you tell her that I will take care of any repairs to the wall?
I did not.
Right. Because that would have cost you money.
It would have cost my insurance company money, yes.
I don't give it cause you money or your insurance company money. It wouldn't have caused her any aggravation if you fessed up like a man right at the beginning. It would have, because then the resident manager would have not have called the police, and if she had already called the police, she would have called them back and said, listen, forget about that whole complaint, because I found out how it happened, and it was really an unfortunate set of circumstances, and she wouldn't have been cited, and she wouldn't have had to have these lawyers' fees and go to court if you had done the right thing, which you didn't. So you have to pay. Well, your bills are $1,475. Shh. Quiet, Miss Saunders. You're suing for $4,000. I'm awarding you $2,500.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I totally disagree with the judge's decision, but I do respect it.
He kept following me, and then I started getting scared, thinking I didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know. I was scared. And no, I wasn't cheating on my husband.
And now the next case.
Parties on Barganier versus Porter. Step forward, please.
37-year-old student Veda Barganier claims her neighbor, 37-year-old fundraiser Judith Porter's dog, killed her miniature Doberman puppy.
I gather from these papers that you two ladies are not so neighborly neighbors and have a long history between you of not such terrific feeling. But the gravamen of this case is that you claim that her two dogs were roaming free, got out from their gate, and killed your puppy that was penned in your backyard.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
What kind of puppy was this?
A miniature pincher.
There were any witnesses who saw that?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
There was a woman walking up the street.
Where here?
She's not here, I'm sorry.
Well, what proof do you have?
I have a statement from her.
We don't take statements.
Right. No proof.
No proof?
Right.
Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, 20-year-old student Keisha Johnson had him falsely arrested for spying on her with a camera and threatening her with a gun.
Order. All rise. Quiet in courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 238 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
All right, I had a little bit of confusion about these papers. So first we have to figure out where you live and how you know each other. Because what I gather is you work in the complex where she lives?
No, Your Honor, I'm the manager there.
Well, that's working there.
Yes.
So you work in the complex where she lives?
Yes.
Don't say no all the time.
No.
Sometimes you have to say yes.
Yes.
And according to this complaint, you were sitting in your van one evening. You have a van, sir?
Yes.
You don't live in the van?
No.
You live in an apartment?
I live in an apartment above the...
Above her?
Yes, the defendant, yes.
And according to these papers, somebody told you that he was using a camera from his van.
Actually, I saw him first in his van looking up into my apartment.
Okay.
Then I was
then
told.
somebody told you.
Yes.
Is that person here today who told you?
No.
Somebody, according to your papers, told you that he had a camera.
Yes.
He was taking pictures.
Yes.
You never saw that?
No.
So what did you do?
At that time, I went downstairs to approach him at his van, which is parked right in front of my balcony, where you can see into my living room if the curtains are open. I knocked on the van. He opened the door. He knew exactly who I was. Then I pointed to my balcony and I said, "Mr. Walker, my friend said," that's as far as I got. And when he cocked his gun and started to curse at me, excuse my language, he said, "What the f do you want? What the f you gonna do?" And at that time, I put my hands up and I backed off the van and I said, "Excuse me."
So you saw a gun?
Yes.
Okay. So you saw that and you went upstairs and you called the police?
Yes.
About how much later did the police arrive? You must have known when you called the police and when the police arrived.
It took them probably 5 to 10 minutes to get there.
Were you watching the van all this time?
No. At that time, when I went in to call the police, as soon as I hung up, because our walls are very thin, you can hear people running up and down the stairs. I heard him go up to his apartment and come back down, and he knocked on my door and said, "Let's talk about this." And I told him, "No, get away from my door."
Did you knock at her door?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the police arrived. Where were you when the police arrived?
In front of her door, talking to her.
And police took a complaint and placed you under arrest?
Yes, that is correct.
And they took you to the police station?
No. At first, he went out to the squad car, whereby he took some more information. And the officer asked me, did I have any medical problems? I said, yes. So I suffer from hypertension. So he in turn called the ambulance, and they put me in an ambulance and took me to the county hospital, which is Howland Hospital.
Did anybody search your home?
No, they only searched the van for the camera and the gun, which I didn't find either. The officers didn't find either.
But like I said before, he went up to his apartment
I'm following
first.
you. You don't have to say it more than once to me. I'm pretty quick on the draw.
Okay.
So they took you to the hospital first, and then you were medically cleared?
Yes. And then they took me to county city jail.
Okay, and how long did you spend in city jail?
36 hours.
And what happened with this case?
It was dismissed. I went to court twice, and no charge was filed against me.
Now, Mr. Walker, so what you're suing her for is for false arrest.
Yes.
And in order for you to be able to establish to my satisfaction that this was a false arrest, I have to be perfectly satisfied that you didn't have a gun on that day. Do you understand?
Yes,
now
most definitely.
She says that she saw a gun in your hand.
No way. No, I did not have a gun, Your Honor, because what preceded this incident, the evening before, I called the police twice. And the reason being because the witness there, her roommate or lover, whatever, came in and challenged me about a parking space. And I told her straight away, when they moved in, there's nobody have a reserved parking space. There's plenty of parking space, and so therefore, I'm not going to move my vehicle because I had parked underneath the carport to do some work on my van. And she came and insulted me, so I had enough of it. So I called the police first. They came by.
Her, just a second. So you called the police and had her arrested?
No, I just called the police to have them quit harassing me.
That's not
true. Just a minute.
Just a second. That's his story. Just relax.
Okay. I got you.
Just sit there.
I'm cool.
Get hold of yourself. So you think that this whole incident was in retaliation?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes, because the police was there the first time. She just came, and the other two women was in the back, and they got together talking. And then after she left, went up to her apartment, the other party persists to insult me, and I called him for a second time. Now, he came out, he said, well, this is enough. That's okay. You talk to her. But by that time, she had left. I have had no problems with this individual since he moved there in February of this year.
What were you doing in your van that day, sir?
I was working on the van under the carport, specifically doing minor tune-ups because I had planned, myself and another neighbor had planned to go fishing the next day.
No. When the van was parked at the time that she came down and knocked at the door to the van, was it under the carport?
No, it was parked on the parking lot in back of the building, which I have pictures of.
It wasn't parked in the carport?
No, it was not parked in the carport.
So, and you had said that when you wanted to do some work on the van, you parked it under the carport?
Yes.
Okay. So then, for some reason, you moved the van out of the carport?
Yes.
Into the parking area?
Yes, that is correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she stepped up, said snake, snake, and backed up against the wall.
I don't particularly like snakes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Thomas Walker is accusing Keisha Johnson for having him locked up under false pretenses. Keisha says she saw him taking pictures of her through a window. When she approached him, he pulled a gun on her.
Okay, what made you decide to take the car out from under the carport to do this mechanical work and put it outside to do
After I
mechanical
had finished, I moved it out because I can look out of my back window to see my van. It had been broken into twice since I've been there, which is about 10 years. And so therefore, I park it in the parking lot rather than leaving it on the carport. And
All
also,
right, so wait, now, so you're outside in your van, and you'd already finished working on it because
Yes.
you say that you weren't going to work on it outside, you were just parking it outside. So what were you doing with it in the van outside?
After I finished work on my van, it's about 7 o'clock that evening, I went out to buy some groceries because, as I said, we had intended to go fishing the next day, so I parked it on the back. And after I came back, I said, wait a minute, I'm going to sleep in my van. We're supposed to leave at 5 a.m. that Wednesday morning. So I'm going to sleep in my van, so therefore nobody will come and slash my tires, which has happened before. So the person's supposed to come over at 5 o'clock, and then we're supposed to go fishing the next day. So that's why
Mr.
I parked
Walker.
it out there. Yes.
That's a good fish story you just told me, Mr.
Well,
Walker.
I mean, you can believe it if you want.
That's a good
But I
fish-
didn't go fishing.
Just a
You
second.
can believe
That's
that
good.
also.
You started fishing the night before, sir.
Not necessarily, no.
You expect me to believe, I mean, this is a good story, that you decided to sleep in your van because you didn't want your car tire slashed. And it just so happens that somebody saw you with a camera and a gun. I am not convinced, sir, that you are going to be able to establish to my satisfaction, based upon these fish stories that you told me so far, that she did not, in fact, see a gun in your hand when she went down to the van and knocked at the door in the early morning hours that night. So, and she, once having seen that gun, she had perfectly good and valid reason to go inside and call the police. Now, you also realizing that you might be in some difficulty, ran up to your apartment, brought the gun upstairs, then came down to her apartment and said, why don't we just talk about this whole thing? Let's see if we can forget about it, you know, forget about the whole incident.
That sounds credible, but that's not the way it happened.
It's pretty close. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
No problem.
Excuse, you may step out.
It's virtually impossible to take a picture of her apartment located where the van is located, even if I'd have stood on top of it.
Mr. Walker cool, right? He's cool. But the littlest thing will set him off. I got a little dog. She runs around on his feet, little miniature Yorkshire Terrier. She runs around his feet. The little dog on my feet. He gets mad. He gets upset. We cool. You and Mr. Walker. Hopefully, you know, I just have to keep an eye on my little dog when she goes outside. And she might get run over by the van. You know?
And now the next case.
Parties on McLaurin versus Cox. Step forward, please.
Receptionist Carolyn McLaurin says corrections officer Jeffrey Cox's pet python so frightened her, it made her sick.
All right, Miss McLaurin, you and the defendant either work at or did work at the same place. Is that right?
Yes.
Where was that?
It's at the California Department of Corrections in Lancaster.
And what kind of work did you do?
I was a telephone receptionist.
And what kind of work did you do?
I'm a correctional officer at that facility, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Cox, there came a time, what was the date?
July the 31st.
Of last year?
Yes, 1997.
That you did a very foolish thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And for the record, why don't you tell me about this foolish thing that you did?
My wife owns a pet shop, and at the administration building outside the facility, I had a person that I was selling a reptile to. Outside the prison is the building that I walked into, and she was...
Just a minute. So you brought a reptile. When you say a reptile, what kind of a reptile?
It was approximately a 4-foot red-tailed boa snake. I have pictures of the snake and the...
So you brought the snake into work?
Not into work, ma'am. I was on my day off, and it was the building outside the prison itself.
Where she worked?
Right.
So it was part of the prison complex.
Yes, ma'am.
So you brought this creature. I don't particularly like snakes. Most women don't like snakes, and I know I'll probably get a lot of mail from women who say, I love snakes. Do you like snakes, Bird?
I like snakes.
It's a guy thing, you know. This was the creature in question?
Yes, ma'am.
So you walked in.
It was wrapped around my left arm. As I walked in, I walked beside her.
How
Beside the
close?
countertop.
How close? About as close as you are now?
Approximately 2.5 feet
That's
from her.
pretty close. And you saw the snake?
Yes.
Scared you out of your mind?
Yes.
Your blood pressure went up?
Yes.
Right. And you went to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
You were checked out in the hospital?
Yes.
And you were okay?
Well, my pressure was elevated some.
Right. But you were otherwise okay?
Yes.
I had no intention of...
I know. But you saw that she got very frightened.
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say? Do you remember what she said when she saw the snake?
She stepped up, said, snake, snake, and backed up against the wall.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He brought snapping turtles to work, and one woman, she opens the box, and there's snapping turtles in the box.
Did you bring snapping turtles to work?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Receptionist Carolyn McLaurin says corrections officer Jeffrey Cox's pet python so frightened her, it made her sick.
The problem with your lawsuit is you are suing him for thousands of dollars because you say that subsequent to this incident, you developed colon cancer, right?
Yes.
And you attribute this colon cancer to the trauma of this event. That's what your lawsuit says. Right?
Yes.
Judge Judy, can I
Who are you?
I'm her daughter.
Sure, come on up.
This incident that occurred at the prison, I'm her daughter. This gentleman has no idea what trauma he caused our family. My mother was so afraid. She suffered a stroke 10 years ago. And they actually had to call the MTs to come and take her out. Now, what may seem as a minor incident to
I'm not
him-
suggesting it's minor.
No,
What's your last name?
My last name is Flemings.
Miss Flemings, I'm not suggesting that this was minor or that your mother wasn't traumatized. My problem is that your mother attributes her diagnosis 6 months later of colon cancer to this incident. And I see absolutely no proof of any causal connection. And that's what lawsuits have.
Right,
He did
exactly.
something wrong.
Right.
He did something stupid.
Exactly.
He scared your mother.
Exactly.
Right? But that's a giant leap from doing that to saying that incident caused me to have colon cancer. I mean, in all the literature, they talk about vegetables and broccoli and
Exactly.
everything else, but they don't talk about snakes.
Right.
And that kind of trauma as
Exactly.
causing
and
colon
I agree
cancer.
with you. I agree with
good.
you. My point is this gentleman has a history of not just the snake at the job, but there was a snake at the picnic that he brought to the picnic. He brought snapping turtles to work, and one woman, he put it in a lunchbox, and he's telling her, oh, well, I wonder what kind of meat is in there. She opens the box, and there's snapping turtles in the box.
Did you do that? Just a
No,
minute.
ma'am.
Did you bring snapping turtles to work?
No, ma'am. Not snapping turtles.
What kind of turtles did you bring?
I had sold some little tiny turtles to another person. They weren't snapping turtles of any kind.
Mr. Cox, did you ever bring a snake to a picnic?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
He had all the officers' wives screaming all over the place.
All right.
That's
Listen.
highly
Listen,
exaggerated,
Miss
ma'am.
Flemings. And this isn't meant to be disrespectful, Bird.
I'll wait until you say it, Judge.
Takes men a longer time to grow up. Do you know what I mean? What they may find amusing, women don't necessarily find amusing. I'm sure all of his male friends thought it was absolutely adorable that all the women were running around the picnic scared to death of this snake. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's highly exaggerated.
Mr.
you know.
Cox, when did you bring the snake to the picnic, before or after this incident?
Long before this incident.
Okay, so you brought it long before, and there were a lot of women running around, and they were frightened of the snake. But you didn't learn your lesson, because you brought another snake into a facility and it scared her. Wouldn't scare a guy your size, perhaps, but it would scare a diminutive lady like this. I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm just saying he didn't cause her cancer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
This case is not worth thousands of dollars. Okay. It's probably worth an apology.
I do owe her a big apology, yes. I had no intention of even coming close to scaring her.
I understand that. But, you know, if you're standing 2 feet away from somebody and they unexpectedly turn around and see a 4-foot python, that could scare you, sir. And Miss McLaurin, you were taken to the hospital. Did you have to pay for the hospital visit?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So you had no actual out-of-pocket expenses as a result of this incident?
No.
Okay. Well, for the emotional stress that you went through on that day and going to the hospital, I'm awarding you $500. I find that the gravamen of your complaint is that you developed a very serious illness as a result of this, and there is absolutely no proof of that. So that part of your complaint I am dismissing. However, I think that the only way we can demonstrate to Mr. Cox that he has to be more careful with other people's fears is through the pocketbook. So I am awarding you $500. Judgment is for the plaintiff, that's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I did not mean to scare her at all, and I had it even known that it was going to even come even close to this, I wouldn't have done it.
I don't feel that I've been compensated enough for what has happened, but if she says that's it, that's it. I don't think he has grown up, and I think it will happen again.
Quincy Lewis is suing his ex-wife, 25-year-old Jennifer Garcia, for the repair of his video camera after their 4-year-old daughter dropped it. Jennifer is countersuing for the cost of the camera, claiming he never paid for it in the first place.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Lewis versus Garcia. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Were you two folks ever married?
Yes, we were, Your Honor.
And how long have you been divorced?
We've been divorced since, actually the final divorce just went through last August. So.
And you have a 5-year-old daughter?
4-year-old.
4-year-old. So this is an interesting complaint. Mr. Lewis.
Correct.
According to your complaint, you lent your former wife a camcorder, video camera, right?
Correct.
And you were on relatively good terms with her?
Yeah, try to communicate on a win-win situation just for our daughter.
Well, that's good. And while the video camera was at her house, your daughter got a hold of it somehow.
That was the story, right.
And dropped it.
That's, from my understanding, that's what I heard, yeah.
Did you speak to your daughter about it?
Actually, I didn't even really talk to my daughter about it because when she's at my house, she knows better. I discipline her not to touch things that, that's not a toy. So I didn't even talk to her about it because it's not between my daughter. If she did drop it, she's still responsible for it.
Why do you think she's still responsible for it?
Oh, because she's the parent. Just like if she loaned me something and I broke it or my daughter broke it there, I would have to be responsible for it too. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting view of the law if in fact she was negligent with it by allowing your daughter to have access to it. But if it was truly an accident and she wasn't negligent with the camera, then you're both the parents of this 4-year-old, right?
Correct.
So tell me how this camera got broken. I was trying to play something on the camcorder, and I had to turn around and do something, and I put it on the couch. And then when I turned around, she was holding it and dropped it.
Is your daughter here today?
Yeah, she is.
Does she remember what happened? Do you know?
I haven't asked her, but I don't know if she did or not.
You mind if I ask her?
No, that's you could ask her.
Why don't you bring her up here? Why don't you bring her up here so that she can stand closer to me?
Stop putting your hands on your mouth.
How you doing? Good. You just step up here. Come on.
Hi.
All right.
Roy, can you help her up on that chair?
Sure. Come on. Oh, big girl. Thanks, Judge. There you go.
There you go. Hi. Tell me your name.
Maya.
Could you tell me your name without your finger in your mouth?
Maya.
Maya? You're so pretty, Maya. Where did you get that dress?
My mom picked it out.
Your mom picked it out? Can I ask you a question, Maya? Do you remember touching a camera? Hmm? Did you hold the camera? And did it drop? Hmm? Is that what happened? Did you feel badly? No, because it was an accident? What did you want to do with the camera? Did you want to play with it? Hmm? So what happened?
It just dropped.
Did you feel badly?
No.
No? Did your mommy yell at you? Good. Anything else you want to tell me about the camera? Okay. She's cute.
There you go. Hey.
So your daughter dropped the camera. So why are you suing her?
Basically, it's about responsibility. I think it's an accident. Doesn't matter who dropped it. You know, I think if my daughter dropped it at my house and it was some of hers, I would have to replace it because of my negligence. Maya, she's only 3 years old at the time. She's not responsible for a $1,000 piece of equipment. You know, it was an accident.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with everything that you say, sir, but there is a counterclaim here, so let me talk about the counterclaim. Your former wife says that you purchased this camera along with a lot of other things at a store, and you purchased it, and both of your names were on the credit to purchase this, and the camera was never fully paid for.
Correct.
And the matter went into collection, and it's against her credit as well as yours.
Correct.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you didn't pay for the camera?
Well, we were supposed to make payments together, and I kept on making payments, and finally I kept on asking her for the checks, and she kept on telling me to she's gonna give me the checks, and she never did. I kept on going to McMahon's paying checks.
Well, who had the camera?
I had the camera.
So you had the camera and you wanted her to give you checks for it?
No, the checks are for the other stuff.
What other stuff?
The TV and the couch we purchased together.
Where's the TV?
She has a TV.
I have the TV.
And who has the couch?
He has the couch.
The couch is basically out.
But you kept the couch?
He kept
right.
the couch.
Because the reason I kept the couch because we threw away my old couch.
It doesn't make any difference.
Right.
You bought a couch,
right,
a camcorder, and a television set.
Right.
Okay. Co-signed on all of those things.
Correct.
She kept the TV. You kept the camcorder, which was $1,000 according to you.
Correct.
You just said $1,000 camcorder.
Right.
How much was the TV?
It was for $230.
So you kept the $230 TV.
Yes.
And you kept the $1,000 camcorder.
Right.
And she was supposed to pay you half of the bill.
No, we're supposed to just make payments together because the
Well, what kind of payments were you supposed to make together? How did you cut those payments? You pay half, I'll pay half, or I'll pay three-quarters?
It's been a long time since we make payments, but I'm not sure. I think it was $40 a month. I'm not sure how much it was.
But meanwhile, you didn't make the payments.
Right, I was making my payments on time. I had money. I was making my payments on time, but every time I went to go get a check from her, you know, she didn't have a check.
Well, you had most of the property, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So far, for her $250 television set, she paid $600 for a couch that you're sitting on. You didn't have a very good lawyer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Quincy Lewis says his ex-wife, Jennifer Garcia, owes him for the repair of his video camera after their 4-year-old dropped it. Jennifer says Quincy owes her for the camera.
So the agreement was you let her use the camcorder.
Correct.
Because it was really purchased by both of you.
Correct.
And now it's broken.
Right.
And you had stopped paying on it already, right?
Correct.
You had stopped paying on it already.
Right.
And so that whatever warranty you had on it died when you stopped paying.
No, actually the warranty was still good. I have this right here. The warranty was still good.
So why don't you have it fixed?
It didn't cover labor. It just covered parts.
Just a second. So you had the camcorder fixed?
Right, I had it fixed.
Oh, good.
Right.
So it didn't cover labor?
Right.
And how much was the labor?
Labor was $288 total.
Mm-hmm. So why are you suing her for $350?
$12 for gas going to Ventura and $50 for the tapes that ate. And because she didn't even tell me it was broken when I got it back. I didn't even know it was broken until I confronted her about it.
That's not true.
How much was the couch?
The couch was for $800, and I paid 80% of it.
Is that right?
Right.
And all she got out of this deal was a $250 television set. You got the couch and you got the $1,000 camcorder. Is that right?
Right, we were supposed to share a camcorder though.
Well, if you're supposed to share the camcorder, sir, then what are you suing her for? Then it was partly her camcorder that she broke, or that was broken while in her
So she should be
possession.
responsible for fixing it.
Huh?
So why should I be responsible for fixing it if we share it? If I'm supposed to be responsible for fixing it, then, I mean, I wouldn't want to loan it to her no more. Am I correct?
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
Sounds to me, if I get this scenario right, when the two of you separated, there were 3 major items that were outstanding. One couch that cost $800, which she paid, and you agree, 80% of. So she paid $600 for the couch. You got the couch. Outstanding was a $1,000 camcorder, which you had,
right,
and a television set worth $250, which she kept. You didn't have a very good lawyer. Because that doesn't sound like even to me.
Yes.
Right? So far, for her $250 television set, she paid $600 for a couch that you're sitting on.
Well, the couch is gone.
That's not her fault. Why is that her fault?
No, nobody really wanted the couch because it was old. It was messed up. And McMahon's would not fix it.
It hadn't been paid for. She paid for it.
Right.
You had it for a while. Did you have it for a while after you separated?
Yes.
Did you have it for a while?
Actually,
Did you sit on it after you separated?
Correct. Yeah. Right.
Mr. Lewis,
right,
get a grip.
Right.
Your case is dismissed. And, madam, I'm dismissing your counterclaim because, according to you, you've been told that he's responsible for those bills by the store. Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
It's not true.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We had the camcorder together, we're supposed to share it. If I break it, I'm going to be responsible for it. If she breaks it, why am I going to let her use the camcorder again, and she's not going to be responsible for what she breaks it again? I'm going to pay for it every time she breaks it? It's common sense.
I went to court to get a restraining order against him, and when the judge signed a restraining order, he was against it. He's going to do anything to get me to court and do something. It's just out of spite.
And now the next case.
Parties on Raffanon versus Smith. Step forward, please.
28-year-old corporate secretary Corey Raffanon claims 18-year-old Jonte Smith deliberately killed her cat.
Ms. Raffanon, you complain that the defendant purposely killed a pet cat of yours.
Yes.
He says it was an accident.
Yes.
Did you know him before this incident?
No, I did not.
You'd never seen him before?
Nope.
So why don't you tell me where this happened and under what circumstances?
It happened in front of my house on June 19th, which was an evening. Myself and my cats went out for our usual outings before bedtime.
Were they on leashes?
No.
Why not?
We usually stay in our yard, but they were running around. And I was standing at the beginning of the yard by the door, and I saw the commotion of when he drove by. He went speeding by south past my house, but then he came back and he sped this way and then he stopped after passing my house and backed all the way up to where the cat was killed the first time, and then took off again going this way again,
swerving to try and hit the other cat that he missed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was speeding up the street. He swerved in towards the gutter and hit the cat with his front wheel. Took off again, this time swerving towards the other side of the street and barely missing her other cat.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 28-year-old corporate secretary Corey Rafanen claims 18-year-old Jonte Smith deliberately killed her cat.
So let me try to understand this. You were in your yard, and from what you tell me, the cat that was killed was in the street.
No, she was on the sidewalk.
Are you telling me his car went up on the sidewalk?
He went into the gutter to run her over.
No. The into the gutter is the street, madam, where the cars travel. He didn't come up on your sidewalk.
I didn't see when he did it, so that's what I have my witnesses for.
Where did you find the cat?
About 19 inches away from the sidewalk.
In the street, where cars travel?
That's after she was ran over by the sidewalk. She had got up and traveled.
You didn't see that?
No,
You didn't see that?
My witness, Tina, saw that. She was on that side.
Step up, Tina. Tell me your last name.
Reese.
All right, Miss Reese, from what point did you observe this incident?
From the same side of the street that the cat was hit on. I was about 5 feet behind the cat when it was hit.
Are you a friend of hers?
No, we had just recently met after the cat had been hit.
After the cat died? Okay, so tell me what you saw.
I was walking up the street, and he had come by me one way. And after I'd crossed the street, he came by the other way. And at that point, the cat had been sitting in the gutter, and he was speeding up the street. He swerved in towards the gutter and hit the cat with his front wheel, swerved back out and took off up the street. So I started yelling at him to come back. He backed up and told me the cat shouldn't have been in the street, took off again, this time swerving towards the other side of the street and barely missing her other cat.
So I am correct that the cat was in the street where cars travel when it was hit?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Have a seat. Now, Mr. Smith, you were driving in your car that night?
Yes.
At what point did you realize that you had hit something?
When I felt the car run over it.
So what did you do?
I backed up to see if the cat was all right. Then it never happened to me before, so I went home and told my mother, and she went back down there and the cat was gone.
Did you see this cat before you hit it, sir?
I saw it out the corner of my eye before I ran it over.
Did you try to avoid it?
Yes. By the time I had the chance to react to it, I already ran over the cat.
What time of the night was this?
Maybe about 7.
It was after 8.
It's after 8 at night?
Right, and it was still daylight because it was summertime.
But it had started to get dark after 8 o'clock. It was dusk.
After 8:30, it gets dark, yes.
Yes. Who are you?
I was in the car with him.
Tell me your name.
Charlie Keenan. I was in the car. The cat had ran in the middle of the street. He had tried to dodge it, but it was too late. The cat got hit. He backed up to see if the cat was all right, and that's when her witness started getting mad and yelling at me and him. And because he didn't know what to do, we went back to his house and told his mom. But another cat had ran in the middle of the street, which he did not try to hit. He tried to dodge that one again, too. And we went to his house and told his mom. His mom came back.
Have a seat. Were you there?
No, I was at the house when he came home. When he came...
Tell me who you are.
Alisa Smith.
Are you related to him?
Yeah, he's my younger brother. Okay. And he was really upset that he hit the cat. And also, he's a very good driver. There's no way he'll swerve over to hit a cat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You have to take some responsibility for this, madam. You understand that?
I understand that cats do accidentally get hit because they do roam. But
no, you have to take some responsibility for this because you decided to let your cats out unleashed And even according to your own witness, your cat was in the street at 8 o'clock at night when it's starting to get dark. And that's not where your cat belongs. Your cat's supposed to be on your property, not out in the street. I mean, he could have swerved to avoid the cat. He could have hit a child that was in the street. And that would have been in part your fault for letting your cat out there in the street. That's ridiculous. I don't know what you're suing him for. He didn't purposely try to kill your cat. And as a matter of fact, what he did was, and I absolutely believe him, when he saw he hit something, he did come back. And he didn't come back. I mean, you surmise that he came back in order to finish the job. Well, that's ridiculous. I absolutely believe him that he came back in order to see what happened, but he's a young man and he got frightened, and he didn't come back to finish off the job. He came back, you know, when you hit something, whether you hit an animal or whether you hit a child, you get nervous. That's not something that usually happens, but you caused the problem. He didn't. It wasn't his intention when he got behind the wheel of a car to kill something. Have you ever hit an animal before?
Never.
What are you looking at her for?
Her parents have saw him do these things before. They said they've seen him.
Listen to me. If her parents saw anything, they should be here. They should be here. Your cat belonged corralled on your property, not in the street where cars travel. This lawsuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Truth is, he went out of the way to kill the cat. And he tried to kill my other one, too. She's like having another child. I took care of her every day. I mean, the cat depends on me to live, you know, and she died in the wrong way.
I didn't know what to do. First time I ever did it.
I'm sorry that her cat was killed, but the cat shouldn't have been in the street.
School bus driver Roxy Laments says her estranged son-in-law assaulted her. She's asking for lost wages.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 234 on the calendar in the matter of Lamance versus Matthews. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Now, Mr. Matthews, I'm going to start with you, sir. Is that okay? This is your mother-in-law.
Yeah, ex. They're in the process of a divorce with my wife.
She is now your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You seem to acknowledge both instances of physical battery on your mother-in-law, throwing her across the room, I think is what you said here. You admit you threw her across the room. And you also admit that you damaged her car. Right?
Right.
And you say it's her fault. So I'm anxious to hear that. I'm anxious to hear about that.
Your Honor, at the time, me and my wife were having problems, and she was pretty much going under the verge to where she was going to kick me.
Just a second. You and your wife were having problems slowly.
Right. Okay, sorry. And
you were living with your mother-in-law
at the time. And
you have children? One child?
One child. And we were having problems, and we're just pretty much to a point where she's going to kick me out.
Who was going to kick you out?
My wife was. But when Roxy ended up finding out about it, she decided to take matters into her own hands and kick me out herself. But in the process, took my son and hid him, because knowing that if she was going to kick me out, I would have took him with me. But she hid him and stated that he wasn't mine and to get out of her house. That is at which time I threw her across the room, yelled at her, where did she take my son? She wouldn't respond, so I went outside and took damage on her car.
Why were you separating from your husband?
Because of his violence and drug use and stuff like that, and just things were not working out. I'd found out he had had an affair.
Violence towards whom?
Towards me.
During the time you were living in your mother's home, did he ever put his hands on you?
We were, well, yes. And we'd only been there for a short time at that point when this all took place.
When you were living at your mother's house, was he using drugs?
Yes, he was.
What kind of drugs?
Crank.
Crack?
Crank.
Crank.
Yes.
What
with
is that?
amphetamines.
Was he working?
No. He lost his job.
Due to the fact that he robbed a liquor store.
Mr. Matthews, were you working at the time you were living in your mother-in-law's house?
No, I wasn't.
Had you been arrested?
Previously, yes.
For robbery?
Yes.
Were you using amphetamines?
At that time, yes. Penny was too.
Penny is your wife?
Mm-hmm.
And how old is your child?
He's 4 now.
Well, it would seem to me that your mother-in-law did absolutely the right thing by taking your child and hiding him so that when she kicked you out of the house, you wouldn't take him with you.
She had no right to be involved. And it was none of her concern.
I was supporting him.
Just a second. Mr. Matthews, let me go over this again with you, sir. You had been arrested for robbery. You were a user of drugs, right? And you were unemployed. And you were living with your mother-in-law because you couldn't afford to have your own house to maintain yourself. So you think that your mother-in-law was doing the wrong thing by trying to protect your 4-year-old son from not only you, but you and maybe even from her own daughter, assuming that what you say is correct, that you were both using drugs. Don't you think that that was a smart thing to do? It's what I would do with my grandson. I wouldn't let my son-in-law, if he was arrested for robbery, high on drugs, and unemployed, take my 4-year-old grandchild. No way over my dead body.
Oh, but it didn't matter. Oh.
Over my dead body.
It's not her child. It's not Roxy's child.
So what you're telling me is you don't want to get down on your knees and thank her for protecting your 4-year-old from his crank, abusing, felon father. You don't want to get down on your knees and thank her.
No.
You assaulted her. Oh, you're going to pay. Now, how much damage did he cause to the car? Let's hear about the car.
I have all the paperwork here.
Just give me a bottom line figure.
I paid $250 was what I paid out.
Was your deductible?
That was my deductible. Plus I paid $229.35 for a car rental at the time when it was in the shop. And I also lost 4 hours off of work because I couldn't work the next day after he threw me across the room.
When he threw you across the room, where were you injured?
Well, he hit me in the right shoulder, and I landed against the couch, and I bruised my left side, down my left side. And I do drive a bus, and I load wheelchairs, and I could not bend down and around to strap down wheelchairs during the day, so my dispatcher sent me home.
Well, I don't know where you came up with this figure of $1,077.42 for, which is the amount you're suing him for. Is that right?
Yeah, that's because...
that doesn't include your pain and suffering.
No, I wasn't, because I wasn't trying to get him for anything. I just wanted my money back, is all I wanted. I mean, you know, he's lived with me. I mean, I've practically supported him during the whole 5 years they've been together, you know, and I wasn't out to get him, actually.
You've always been out to get me, even before anything happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You pled guilty to a robbery.
Misdemeanor grand theft.
Is that in California?
Mm-hmm.
Some state.
And later today,
Regina and I were lovers for 4 years.
I had her arrested for domestic violence.
You made her unhappy, stressed for a couple of days. Somebody's got to pay for that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roxy laments wants compensation for lost wages from her estranged son-in-law, Arthur Matthews, after he assaulted her and dented her car.
Mr. Matthews, when was the last time you held a full-time job?
I've had one now for over a year and a half.
What happened with your court case?
Which one?
The robbery case.
They gave me a 30 days work program.
You pled guilty?
Yeah.
To a robbery?
Misdemeanor grand theft.
Did you go into a store and take money? Is that what it was?
Yeah, the guy that was in the store gave me the money. Another guy was involved.
And they let you plead guilty to a misdemeanor?
Yeah.
Is that in California?
Mm-hmm.
To some state? Had you been arrested again?
Yeah.
For what?
For burglary.
Burglary. How many times have you been arrested all told, sir?
About 4 times in the past 10 years, 12 years.
How much time did you spend in jail?
This last time, 5 months.
You have regular visitation with your son?
No, they refuse to let me see him.
Now, Mr. Matthews, you've been in court enough to know that if you want visitation with your child and if you're willing to be drug tested twice a week to make sure
I
that
get drug tested every week. I go to 3 NA meetings. I go to 3 NA meetings a week, and I've been clean for almost a year.
Oh, that's good. So if you can establish that you've been clean, I am certain that a family court judge here in this jurisdiction would start visitation, even if it was just on a supervised basis. But you have to take the initiative with regard to that. It's not that they're not letting you, sir. With your track record, I wouldn't let you be unsupervised with the child at all. In any event, you had absolutely no basis to either assault her or to damage her property, Mr. Matthews. Absolutely none, sir. She was doing the right thing. Any grandmother would do the same thing in her position. You were in no position, financially, or more importantly, physically, as a drug abuser, to have custody, even temporarily, of your son the time you assaulted her. And she did what was necessary to protect her grandson from his own father. Sometimes that's necessary, and you had no justification whatsoever to hurt her. So I'm awarding her the full extent of her complaint, which is $1,077.42. Glad you're working. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
She don't deserve the money. I don't care what the judge said. She's been doing drugs as long as I have, and she gets custody. Doesn't matter if I have a record or not.
He has
He's had my phone number for 5 weeks and
he's
hasn't
never
called.
called once to set up an appointment to see him, not even once. Well, I don't think he really wants to see him then. If he had wanted to see him, he would have called.
And now the next case.
Parties on. Gaeta versus Alarcon. Step forward, please.
36-year-old Regina Gaeta claims her ex-lover, 28-year-old Erlinda Alarcon, used her ID when she was stopped for a traffic ticket.
Ms. Gaeta, it is your claim that the defendant, who you knew, used your identification when she got a traffic ticket, causing you certain expense and stress, right?
Correct.
She says she didn't do it. How would she come to have your identification?
She used to live with me, and she's done quite a bit to me in the past, living with me, lied to me.
When did she stop living with you?
It's been about 4 years.
And when was this alleged use of your identification?
It was February 1998.
So it was at least 3.5 years after she stopped living with you that you claim that she used your identification.
Correct.
What proof do you have that she used your identification?
Early February when she came over in the 1986 Dodge Colt blue 4-door, as it is on the ticket.
Let me see it, please. Did you confront her with this?
No, Erlinda Alarcon has a domestic violence past where I had her arrested for domestic violence, so I was afraid to deal with it out of court, so I brought it to court.
Well, because this says she's not in a possession of a license.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't have a piece of paper indicating that they were you, whoever it was that got stopped for this violation. So none of your identification was used, it's just that somebody used your name.
Correct.
I need some more proof.
Erlinda Alarcon works in Modesto, California, and the ticket was given in Ceres, which is 15 minutes away, which is 7:22 p.m. when she received the ticket.
Mm-hmm. In December of 1997, were you the owner of a 1996 Dodge Colt automobile?
I no longer had that car, Your Honor.
did you at any time have?
Yes, I did.
You did have that car?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that car?
Just for a few months, probably.
When?
Last year, probably in June, I got the car.
And
it
when
was more trouble than it was worth.
When did you sell the car?
I didn't sell the car, Your Honor. It got stolen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Is the driver's license number that's indicated on this notice to appear your driver's license
Correct.
number?
Yes.
That I find compelling.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Regina Gaeta says her ex-lover, Erlinda Alarcon, used her ID to avoid getting a traffic ticket.
Well, how would her name come up in a car that you had had some contact with?
Your Honor, Regina and I were lovers for 4 years. We continue to be friends, you know, all this time. I mean, she's talking that I have a domestic violence with her. I think if she was so afraid of me, why would she continue to hang out with me?
No,
you know?
you're not answering my question. What I'm asking you is, if I follow through with what you're suggesting is the car was stolen, and somebody who stole the car found her name somehow in the car and used it when they got this summons. So what I'm asking you is, after 4 years, what would her name on any kind of a document be doing in that car? Otherwise, some thief would have to know your personal business.
Well, we went places in that car. I mean, we were always together in that car.
When?
Anytime she had a doctor's appointment, if she needed me to drive her somewhere, I would take her in my car.
When? What year?
Last year of '97.
Is that right?
No, it's not correct. She's never taken me to the doctor in that 1986
Had you been in
Dodge.
that car?
Yes, I have.
How many times had you been in that car?
Maybe 2 times.
Did you ever leave anything in that car?
Never. Never left anything in that car. Your Honor, that I recall a couple of months before February, Erlinda Alarcon had one of my bank cards. I needed to get money from the bank, and I didn't have my card. She pulled one out from the glove box that was my old bank card, and I tried to use it, and it had expired. Then I realized she took my bank card, my old one, so I figured she knows my driver's license by heart. I put it all together. My witness here saw Erlinda Alarcon come over the first week of February in the 1986 Dodge Colt.
So that your identification, some form of identification, was in the car. She had some old cards of yours that had expired. Is that right?
Correct.
Which I returned back to her.
Well, it doesn't make any difference, but they were in the car. So there might have been other things in the glove compartment that had her name on it. But what I find interesting is this driver's license number. Is the driver's license number that's indicated on this notice to appear your driver's license
Correct.
number?
Yes.
That's pretty powerful proof, Ms. Alarcon. That I find compelling, because on a credit card, you may have your name. On a letter that might have been in the glove compartment that has your name. But a driver's license number?
I don't know her driver's license number. I know her date of birth. I mean, we live together, you know. Of course, I know her birthday.
So tell me, Ms. Gaeta, what damage did you suffer as a result of
Emotional
this?
distress, very nervous. I suffered a migraine attack.
Did you have to go to court?
Yes, I did.
And that took an evening?
No, well, it just took a couple hours.
Okay. But it was distressing for you to get this, and the
Right.
judge believed you.
Yes.
I believe you. A police officer gave out this ticket.
Right.
Gave out this ticket to a woman who was a female with brown hair, brown eyes, 5'3", weighing 130 pounds, who was Hispanic. That's close, madam. So let me tell you what I have that's close. I have that this was a car that you once had.
Correct.
Ticket was given out in an area in or about the vicinity where you live.
I don't live in that vicinity. I live in Merced.
Or work. It contains information that only someone very close to the plaintiff would know, such as her driver's license number. You certainly had access to her information, how she might sign her name. So I find that pretty compelling. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Too many coincidences. Just too many.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I believe you got the ticket. I believe you got the ticket, and I believe you used her name. It was an absolutely wrong thing to do. And you caused a certain amount of discomfort and stress when she got this ticket. She knew nothing about it.
Regina was constantly getting migraine headaches even before we got together. She suffered a lot of things, even before we got together.
Oh, but you did the wrong thing. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for that. The fact that you didn't have to pay the ticket is really not particularly compelling. Somebody's got to say to you, you inconvenienced her, you made her unhappy, stressed for a couple of days. Somebody's got to pay for that. Right? Sure. How much do you think that's worth?
If whoever was here who did it, maybe they should pay
You did it.
I did not.
Oh, yes, you did, Miss Alarcon. Yes, you did. Life isn't full of that many coincidences. You did it. And you have to compensate her. And I believe a fair and appropriate amount of compensation for you is $500, and that's what I'm giving you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's back to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I'm very glad the judge chose me because I'm innocent, and I think anybody who uses anybody else's identity should be punished. She has a very dirty record, and that's why she used my driver's license number to clear her.
I still don't understand why she did it. She could have asked me, and that wasn't me who did that, so it's over and done with.
I'm very happy I came.
Samantha Nixie claims Jamie and Bob Clauser fired her before her contract was finished. The Clausers say they were justified firing her. She was belligerent to their children.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Mixture versus Clauser. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How do you pronounce your last name? Mixture?
Mixture.
You were hired by the defendants to take care of their two little boys as a nanny. Mm-hmm. That was in August of this year. You worked for them for 3 days and they fired you.
4.
4 days and they fired you. Mm-hmm. You want to be compensated because you say they breached a contract that they had with you.
Yes.
How did you find this job?
It was through a nanny agency.
Had you worked for the agency before?
Not through the agency, but I did have a job at the time when I went for the interview as a nanny.
Why did you leave that job?
Unsanitary conditions.
How long had you been working at that job?
For about 2 or 3 weeks.
So for a short time. Before that, who did you work for?
I worked for a cosmetic company.
So you really had no experience as a nanny?
Not an in-home nanny, but as a preschool teacher. I worked for a year as a preschool teacher overseas and an international preschool.
You put an ad through this agency. You
Correct.
Applied to this agency. You paid them a fee, I assume.
We did not pay the fee because the fee had not been paid by the time that we had fired, and she did not charge us for the fee.
Did you ask for references?
Yes, I have her application that have references and her work experience and.
So you knew she had no experience as a nanny?
We knew that she had experience in a preschool that was in Egypt.
That you never checked on?
We never checked on, no.
That's not smart.
No.
How old are your children?
Casey is actually a girl, 5, and Trey is 2.
Why did you let her go?
I came home the first night, actually her first day with the kids by herself, because I had spent 1 day with her, with the children. And they did not hear me come in because they were upstairs in the bathroom with the door shut. She was running the shower to give the kids a bath. They didn't know that I had come in, and even though I was saying hello, hello, walked up to the top of the stairs, and as I got to the top of the stairs, I could hear her angrily talking to the kids, knock it off, get over here right now, your mother is going to be home in just a minute, knock it off. It wasn't so much what she said, it was the tone and the anger in her voice. So I sat and listened to it for a couple of minutes. And finally, when I had knocked on the door, there was utter surprise that I was there, of course. And then she came out smiling and telling me what a wonderful day they had had. In the back of my mind, I thought, if this is a wonderful day, what's going to happen on a bad day?
Okay.
I know dealing with 2 children that there are bad days. The reason she got fired was because I didn't feel that her ability was there to handle ongoing stressful situations.
No. Okay. Did you pay her for the week?
I paid her for the week.
Is that right?
Yes, she did, but that's not true at all, Your Honor. I worked with 25 kids around the same age in Egypt for 1 year, and I never had complaints. Never, not one time. I'm very, very patient, and when she came home that day, I do admit I had a different tone in my voice, but this is the way I was trained, and I have always worked with kids this way, where I use a different tone so that they understand that I'm saying no, but I never ever was angry or yelled or knock it off. I never said that.
You don't have to establish to me that you used the tone, you didn't use the tone. In her mind, in her ears, she wasn't happy with your tone.
I understand that, but you know, when we did go out to the garage to talk about it, I apologized to her only because, like you said, she's the mother of these 2 kids. She knows what she likes to have said to her kids, how she likes it said. She didn't give me a chance maybe to try again.
She doesn't have to do that.
Your Honor, she knew that I had this job. I had told her the first day that I had a job already. And when she told me about the contract, that she always signs contracts with nannies to protect herself as well as the nanny.
Well, let me see the contract that you say you have.
I also have a piece of paper from the agency that claims that she was not working 3 to 4 months prior to her coming to our job.
Well, let me see what you have.
I told you before, though, that...
Let me see what you have. What date were you interviewed by these people?
I believe it was July 28th.
Okay, and you were told to start the very next week, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So when did you quit your previous job?
I had already given her notice. I had already discussed with...
You gave her notice when?
I gave her notice after the nanny agency called me and told me that she has a few interviews for me, including Jamie's.
Okay. So before you were hired by her, you quit your job?
No.
That's what you just told me. I said, when did you give her notice? You just said to me, before, when I got a call from the nanny agency. Just a second, madam. Just make sure. I mean, I'm still lucid at my age. You just said to me, you gave notice to your job when you got a call from the agency, and the agency told you they had set up a couple of interviews for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, if I
just a second. So you quit your job and gave notice before she hired you. That's what you just told me.
No, I didn't mean to say that. I had already given notice to them. What I had told Lily, the woman I was working for before, is that I told her that I'm looking for another job. I will stay with you until I find another job. I had told her this 1 week before I met Jamie and went on the interview. I told her I could leave at any time. I told her this.
For somebody who's very careful about their children, you hired somebody who's a pretty fast talker. I think that it's fine that you gave her a week's salary. I certainly think that if you wanted to be more reasonable and you were smarter, you would have given her 2 weeks' salary and said, look, I'm going to pay you for this week, and I'm even going to pay you for next week. So it'll give you an opportunity to go back to the agency. How much were you paid each week?
With the minimum?
Yes.
$187.50.
Is that right?
That's with the minimum.
You know, I mean, we do it by hours, so I don't know what the exact amount is. 25 hours minimum at $750.
$750.
You're suing for $3,700 and some odd dollars.
Yes. And
you don't have a prayer, madam. Not a prayer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do I look as if I need help from you? Just a second. Do I look like I need help from you? No.
And later today,
she took a whole evening to come to my home with 2 police officers and a video camera. They searched my home, saying I stole her cat, I stole her dog. I mean, this went on and on and on.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Samantha Mickshee wants Jamie and Bob Clauser to pay her salary, claiming she was wrongly fired.
I don't find that this agreement is anything more than a job description.
That was our interpretation when we wrote it. We wrote a work agreement, not a contract.
No, she told me contract.
And we guaranteed her that was a bad choice of words. The correct word would have been we assured her a certain number of hours each week.
That's what
because we work a different. She worked a different number of hours.
Do I look as if I need help from you? Just a second. Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
Weren't you listening to what I said, sir? What I said was I don't view this as a contract which guarantees her pay from now until the end of the year. What I view it as is a job description, which in effect guarantees her when she's working for you the minimum number of hours to ensure that she doesn't have to double up on jobs, which would give her, if she worked for you, 25 hours a week minimum. What I did say, if you were listening, was you fired her. And you fired her really for tone, because you weren't happy with the way she was handling a situation. Quite frankly, based upon what I'm hearing today, it was probably a very good choice that you made. However, in all fairness, she didn't do anything outrageous to your children, right?
Right.
So you should have given her a week's salary so that she could have at least spent the next week looking for another job. I do believe she gave notice to her job before. I mean, after all, she left them on a Friday and came to work for you on a Monday. That's not giving them a hell of a lot of notice. Not terribly responsible. I don't believe her story for a second. In any event, I think you should have given her another week's salary to give her an opportunity to find something else. So I'm going to give her $187.50. Nowhere near $3,700 that you want. This is not a guarantee, what they call in the television industry pay or play, right? Even if you don't work, you get paid. That's quite a trick. Even I don't get that. $187 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bottom line, my kids are safe, and I feel I made the right decision in the beginning.
We'll look a little deeper next time.
And now the next case.
Parties on Zeldin versus McInerney. Step forward, please.
33-year-old special ed instructor Robin Zeldin claims her former roommate, 40-year-old nurse Joan McInerney, abused her by bringing her to court too many times. She's suing for abuse of process.
You two ladies had been roommates from 1996 to 1997, according to the papers that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that live-in situation terminated acrimoniously, I gather, because there have been a series of lawsuits for return of security deposit, to damage to the property, all in small claims court, and all of those cases have at this juncture been resolved.
Correct.
So the only thing that is outstanding now is a lawsuit that you filed against her for abuse of process, which is abusing the court system and you.
Yes, Your Honor. By
bringing you to court in a frivolous manner on multiple occasions.
Yes.
That's the only thing that I'm considering. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
How many lawsuits did she file against you?
She filed, first was a restraining order that she did not show up in court for. I did. It was dismissed.
When was that?
That was in January of 1998. And
do you have the papers on that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Then she filed in...
Just a minute. Let me take a look. You filed this action for a restraining order against her, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And then you didn't show up in court?
I didn't know I was supposed to show up. They just said if you file a restraining order, it was just to keep her away from me and stop her from threatening me. She constantly threatening me on the telephone.
Just a second. You filed this proceeding, and then on the day that it was scheduled to be heard, you didn't appear.
I didn't know I was supposed to appear for a temporary restraining order.
What did you think happened to a temporary restraining order?
That they were just going to serve her to stay away from me and stop threatening me. That's what I was told.
No, Nobody told you that. All right. Anyway, so she filed this one, filed in December of 1997.
Correct.
Is the next action she filed against you?
In May 25th, 1998, in small claims court.
And you didn't appear on the return date?
I had major surgery April the 1st. Recuperating time was 6 months. I sent the judge everything.
Just a second. Hold it. You had major surgery in April?
April 1st.
And you were given a return date?
Yes.
What was that date?
I don't recall what the date was. I was recuperating at the time.
I have it June 24th, 1998.
All right. So 2.5 months after you were recuperating, you didn't appear in court, and you requested a continuance.
That's right.
How do you support yourself?
I'm a nurse.
When did you return to work?
After my surgery, approximately 6 weeks.
So while you had your surgery on the 1st of April, you returned to work in mid-June.
Yes.
So you returned to work prior to the return date on this case?
Yes, I was able to work
Just a second. You were able to work?
Yes.
Now, what reason did you give the judge for requesting a continuance?
I still had a cast on my leg. I worked with a cast on my leg.
Well, if you worked with a cast on your leg, listen to me. If you worked with a cast on your leg, you can get to court with a cast on your leg.
Your Honor, the reason I didn't go to court many times is because my life was threatened by her. I don't know how many times when I was living with her.
I'm not interested in living with her.
And I was afraid of her.
No, listen to me. If you were afraid of her, madam, then you wouldn't have filed these lawsuits against her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I acted in a very cowardly manner. I was afraid of her.
Your actions don't say that. Your actions say, I'm going to give it to her, as my grandfather would say.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 33-year-old special ed instructor Robin Zeldin claims her former roommate, 40-year-old nurse Joan McInery, abused her by bringing her to court too many times.
What I want to know is, you went back to work in June, well before you were scheduled to appear in court, and then you wrote to the court and you said to the court that you had just had major surgery and you were recuperating.
Yes.
That's what you told them.
Yes.
You didn't tell them you went back to work.
Part-time. I
don't care whether you went back to work part-time or full-time. Going to court is not a full-time job. It takes one evening. All right. So then you were given an adjourn date because you wrote requesting an adjourn date. And what was the return date that you were then given?
I don't recall because I kept getting phone calls from her. So
I'm not interested in the phone calls.
I don't recall. I do not recall.
What was the adjourn date?
Well, I won the judgment on June 24th. And then I got a vacate the judgment order on September 15th that she refiled again. And I once again appeared in court and she was not there. So her judgment was dismissed.
Why not?
Just afraid of her. And I know that sounds silly, but you don't know the story that's behind this. I have to have a chance to explain why.
No. Listen, you tell me that you're afraid of her. To me, if you're afraid of somebody, then you don't create situations like coming to court where you both have to be together over a couple of dollars. Your original suit was just for a few $100s.
That's right.
I mean, if you were actually afraid of her, what you would have said was, I want to drop the whole thing. I don't want to see her. I don't want to be in the same room with her. Nothing. But instead, it appears to me that on now 4 occasions, you have filed actions requiring her to appear, and you've not appeared.
Because if she won, if I won, I was afraid what she would do to me if I won, because she told me what she would do on many occasions.
So why didn't you?
So I let it go.
Your Honor,
Just a minute. You didn't let it go. If you let it go, you wouldn't have written and requested a continuance.
Your Honor,
Jump. You're winning. Be quiet.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I acted in a very cowardly manner. I was afraid of her.
Just a second. Didn't you think it was going to be frustrating every time you had a court date if you didn't show up because, as you said, you were afraid of her, and she went to court because you never notified her you weren't going to court? If she went to court, don't you think that would make her just a tad angry?
A little bit, yes.
Well, if you really didn't want to exacerbate the situation and make her more angry with you, you wouldn't have done anything to make her even more frustrated because she took a morning, an afternoon, an evening to go to court.
Your Honor, you know, she took a whole evening to come to my home with 2 police officers and a video camera. They searched my home, saying I stole her cat, I stole her dog. I mean, this went on and on and on.
No, let me tell you something. The more you're talking to me, the more it's coming crystal clear to me that this course of conduct was designed to frustrate her. And that belies the fact that you tell me that you were afraid of her. Because if you're afraid of somebody, what you try to do is you try to stay as far away from them as possible. That's if you're normal. Now, you may have had good reason to feel frightened by her. You may have. I'm not getting into that, because quite frankly, I'm not interested. But your actions don't say that. Your actions say, I'm going to give it to her, as my grandfather would say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm not satisfied with your answers because, quite frankly, not only am I frustrated for her, but I'm frustrated for courts who have to sit and listen to this and have people who are waiting to have their cases heard, and they can't have their cases heard because the judge has to sit and listen to a case, and then it's the judgment is set aside because they get a letter from you that you had surgery and you couldn't come to court, which is really untrue, because you were at work. Because you were at work at the time that you said you couldn't come to court? Baloney. Look, how many hours did you spend in court?
Well, I had to take a day off of work. I work in Monterey Park, so...
On each of those 4 occasions?
Correct.
What's a day's pay?
About $150 a day. I have a pay stub.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Don't abuse the courts to settle disputes. Don't abuse the courts. Use the courts, but don't abuse them, madam. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor. You may step out. I'll back up to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She never gave me cash.
Love with the wrong personal trainer.
Wouldn't you think that someone had an infatuation for me?
Looking at you standing there, not a chance in hell.
Judge Judy Justice.
To everybody out there, be careful who you rent to because they might lie.
She never let me explain the horror that I lived with this woman and what she put me through when she brought her lover in to live with her. They stole from me, they trashed my room, they took my parking space, and I would not begin to tell you what they did to my dog. It's ludicrous.
She was not allowed to have a dog in the house that we rented. I was not around when the dog was around. I never touched her, pushed her, assaulted her. She's just a scary woman, and she needs to be stopped.
Other 40-year-old administrator Alberto Calvo sold her car with parts of her husband's wheelchair inside. Alberto says it was towed away.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir. Try to stay awake. Judge, this is number 243 on the calendar in the matter of Calvo versus Calvo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mrs. Calvo, this is your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you and your family were the victims of an armed robbery. And because of the fear that you had staying in your home where the robbery occurred, you called your brother, and he came over, and you moved into his house, or the garage in his house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Your
suit alleges that when you moved out, you left an old car in front of your brother's house.
That's right.
In the old car were some parts to your husband's wheelchair.
Right.
And when you came back to retrieve it, it was gone. So you believe he sold it.
That's right.
What makes you think he sold it?
Well, when I went back to get the car, I called, and his son said that it was there, but then they came to the motel, and he said it was gone. It was no longer there. He said they impounded the car. But when I called the police, they said it wasn't at the city or the county, so that nobody had it.
Could it have been stolen?
It could have, but he said that it was just gone, that a tow truck took it.
After your brother offered his home to you, why do you think that he would do something like sell your car?
Well, I just want to know where the car was. I needed the car to get around because I have a crippled husband and 2 children. And when I called from the motel, my nephew said, okay, your car's here. But then when they came to the motel, they said it was gone. I don't know. I don't understand where the car is.
You mean on the same day?
Within 5 minutes.
Did you move out of your brother's home on reasonable terms?
Yes, ma'am.
You had never had any problem with your brother before?
No.
Huh. No problem with me?
Shh. Don't talk to her. Don't talk to me. Well, Ms. Calvo, my problem is I don't understand what would make you think that your brother, who had been nothing but nice to you and your family, would do something like, what year car was this?
An 87.
Would sell your 11-year-old car that probably wasn't worth much, right?
Well, I had just paid, my father bought it for me. He paid $800 for it, plus a van that we traded in. Plus the wheelchair parts is what was expensive. It's a $7,500 wheelchair. I have a picture of the wheelchair that my husband...
Why didn't you leave the wheelchair parts someplace other than a car that was going to be parked outside for 5 weeks?
We had a lot of things, all our belongings, we were moving.
Parts of that wheelchair were at a pawn shop. Part of it were under a beer case of beer.
Where?
In the garage.
Is it still there?
It's a very expensive wheelchair. Her husband is an invalid. He had a stroke, and he has to have a very expensive wheelchair to get around.
Well, then what were the parts to?
That's what I want to know. How can a person be so irresponsible, Your Honor? Forgive me for this interruption, but if the wheelchair is so expensive, why would anyone leave parts scattered here and there?
Because those parts were detachable, and we had sometimes we had to move the wheelchair. We would just move the main part, and some parts just happened to stay in the trunk.
What do you know about this car, Mr. Calvo?
What I know about a car is that according to the city ordinances, you cannot leave any vehicle parked in front of a residential street for a certain period of time, Your Honor, which is why the car is no longer there. When she appeared in Houston to retrieve her vehicle, it was not there, and it could not be there.
How do you know it could not be there?
Because it was removed. I don't know who took it.
Well, when did you first see that it was gone?
About a week, maybe a week and a half before she decided to come up unannounced.
It had been there for about a month then?
Yes, 5 weeks. At the 6th week is when she came unannounced, as I say, called my son on the telephone and said, tell your dad that I'm here to pick up the car, which is her first mistake. You don't make any kind of arrangements with minors, never. You talk to an adult. Talked to my 11-year-old son and told him, tell your dad that I'm going to go pick up the car.
He's 18.
That's besides the point. You're supposed to talk to me on things like that.
Okay,
It's a very
whatever.
serious matter.
She spoke to one of your children.
That's right. And I've told him, do never make arrangements with an adult. You're not an adult.
She wasn't making arrangements. She said, I'm coming to pick up my car. Did you have your sister's telephone number where she was living?
Yes, Your Honor, we did.
Did you call her and let her know that her car had been moved?
No, I did not.
Why not?
It's not my responsibility, Your Honor.
So you were angry with your sister when she left?
Of course I was angry with her.
When she left?
That's right.
Why were you angry with her when she left?
Because of her behavior.
Like what?
Irresponsible behavior, reckless behavior, abandonment.
Of what?
Of her responsibilities. Many of these things would not have occurred to her had she been a person of serious character, Your Honor. But some of her choice of friends is not very good.
He's going off the track.
Oh, you say that you left under good circumstances. I'm trying to figure out why your brother...
Because he's money hungry. He always has been. He wants money. What else? Why would he sell my car? He knew I didn't have a car.
Well, but I don't know
did not sell the car, Your Honor.
Where is it?
It's gone. It's probably smashed into a box about the cube, about that small.
Do you have the registration for this car?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
You have the registration for this car. So if he sold the car, he would have had to have forged some sort of a document of sale. Do you understand that, Ms. Calvo?
You can sell cars without registration.
How?
People buy them all the time.
Well, did you sell it without a registration?
No, I didn't sell it without registration. Or with, or without. But I'm telling you that it has been done.
That's helpful. I'm sure it has been done. But it's illegal.
Of course.
How old are you, sir?
40 years old.
Have you ever been in jail?
Yes.
For what?
Traffic tickets.
How long were you in jail for traffic tickets?
Oh, about 24 hours.
Traffic tickets that you didn't pay?
That's right.
Where there were outstanding warrants?
That's right.
When did that happen?
Oh, what's last year, 97?
Prior to that?
I can't remember prior to that.
You can't remember whether you were in jail prior?
I can't remember the year.
But you were in jail prior to that. For what?
For the same thing.
Traffic tickets.
Traffic tickets.
What do you have against paying traffic tickets?
Nothing. When the bills mount up so high, you know, economically it becomes impossible.
When you get them, you're supposed to pay them. That way they don't pile up.
That's a very good fact.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
they were not there the day that I left.
What does that have to do with anything?
Who could
You didn't entrust
to throw them in the tree and just let them hang there? I mean, I had to give
Then
them
you
somebody.
sue the tree.
And later today,
And Mr. Connors then was taking a shower every 8 days, and the toothbrush got wet every 5 days.
Then you left.
The police took him out.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Olga Calvo claims her brother, Alberto Calvo, sold her car with parts of her husband's wheelchair inside.
Miss Calvo.
Yes, ma'am.
This is sad, but not a difficult case. You believe that your brother sold your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't sell your car. He's not responsible for your car because you left it out in the street, right?
Yes.
You didn't leave him with any of the indicia of ownership, license, registration. In order for me to believe your theory that he sold it, I would have to believe that he broke the law in selling the car because he sold it, and he had no right to do that because he wasn't the legal owner of the car. So in order to believe you, I have to believe that your brother committed a criminal act. Right?
But I left the car in his care.
Did she leave the keys with you?
She left that car telling my younger son, who is 16, that he can have the car.
That's a
just a second.
Blunt-faced lie.
Just a second. Did he, in fact, your 16-year-old son, take the car?
No, he cannot take the car.
Now, according to you, you did not entrust the keys to the car, if I believed you, to the defendant. You entrusted the keys to the car to his son.
The 18-year-old son.
Whatever, 16, 18.
Okay.
18 doesn't help you out a lot.
Okay.
16 might help you out a little bit, but not 18, so you left the car keys with an 18-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
It is possible that the 18-year-old sold the car. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I doubt it.
But it's possible.
It's possible.
No,
It's
I don't
possible.
appreciate-
Shh. I'm not speaking to you.
Well, I don't appreciate.
I'm not speaking to you. Is it possible that the 18-year-old has the car?
It's possible.
Well, Miss Calvo, if all those things are possible, how can I ultimately find in your favor with regard to your lawsuit against this defendant?
Because I entrusted it to him.
No, you didn't, Miss Calvo. You entrusted it to someone else.
Well, the reason that happened was because they were not there the day that I left.
What does that have to do with
Who
anything?
could I
You didn't
leave the keys
entrust.
to? Throw them in the tree and just let them hang there? I mean, I had to give
Then
them
you
somebody.
sue the tree if you throw it in a tree. But right now, you didn't entrust the keys to Mr. Calvo. You entrusted them, according to you, to some 18-year-old, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're suing the wrong person if you have a lawsuit at all. This case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Well, I think I should have left the keys with one of the adults, and I didn't, so there's no hard feeling.
I'm sorry that she had a traumatic experience. If you would have been there, you would have seen how much she suffered. But she must learn responsibility.
It's okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Clift versus Connor. Step forward, please.
73-year-old Maddie Cliff is suing her ex-husband, Paul Connors, 65, for the cost of a bed and her share of a joint bank account.
Miss Clift, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you marry him?
May 95.
And how long did you live together?
Not quite 2 years.
You're suing him for a bid and for part of a joint bank account.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about the bid.
The night we were married, came home, and it started right that night. And I asked him what was wrong. He said nothing. There's 2 women at the wedding who has eyes for me. I'm tired, good night. He left and went to bed. I slept in the bedroom for a little while, and not very long. If I accidentally touched him, he kicked me. Then there came a time where he slept, got on top of the bedspread, if he was out mowing the lawn, and after a few days, it was a whole gray outline on top of the bedspread. I said, it's so much easier to do the sheets, pull the bedspread down. He wouldn't do it. And he would go across the bed so I couldn't get in. So I slept on the floor for 6 weeks with 2 bedspreads. That's all I had. We went out on our anniversary to Rhode Island for shrimp. And because we had a medley of shrimp, I thought I had food poisoning, because right after that, I couldn't move. I was hurting so bad I didn't know what was wrong with me. I wasn't able to sleep. And finally I couldn't stand the floor no longer. It was so painful. And Mr. Connors then was taking a shower every 8 days, and the toothbrush got wet every 5 days. He'd sit in front of the TV.
So you bought a bed for you to sleep in, is that
No,
the
he didn't.
No, you bought a bed for you to sleep in.
I put it in the living room so I could sleep.
So you bought yourself a bed while you were married and you slept in the living room?
Yes.
Now, when you left him, he says you took this bed with you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's get to the joint bank account. How much money did you put into this joint account?
I think at the time, I was getting $632, but then I went on his insurance, so I was getting $712.
So you're talking about your Social Security?
Yes.
So
And a
you
small
put your
pension.
Social Security into a joint account, and he put his Social Security into a joint account.
Yes.
And from that, you paid household bills.
I bought all my own food.
I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about, you lived in a mobile home? Was that purchased or was it leased?
We purchased it.
So was the mortgage payment made from this joint account?
Yes.
And you had gas and electric and telephone?
Yes.
And all that was paid for out of the joint account?
For a while, yes. Well, yes.
Then you left?
I
Or
didn't leave.
separated? You separated?
The police took him out.
Police took him out?
Yep.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're in the golden years of your life. Have a good time. Stop dwelling in the past.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maddie Cliff is suing her ex-husband, Paul Connors, for the cost of her bed and her share of a joint bank account.
Can I please see the judgment of divorce? The most important section of this says, the personal property of the marriage has been, left out a word here, resolved to the satisfaction of the parties, but the husband shall have his paint, alternator, and other personal property of the husband. The husband shall have access to the shed to remove his personal property, so stated in paragraph 8. You signed this?
Yes. This is the list he made.
I don't care about the list he made. You signed this, and if you weren't satisfied with it, you should not have signed it. But not only did you sign it, you were represented by an attorney when you signed it. Now, Mr. Khanna.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are counterclaiming because you say that when she moved out of the house, she took a whole bunch of property.
She took all the contents of the home, including down to the curtains and the curtain rods, everything within the home she took with her. And along with that, she had threatened and put a letter and sent a letter to my immediate family that was quite detrimental to me.
What kind of letter did she send to your
It's a
family?
5-page letter, Your Honor. I have a copy of it here with me.
Can I see it, please?
Certainly, Your Honor. This was sent to all my immediate family.
All right. Well, Mr. Connors, this letter really just has a whole litany of complaints against you, that you were not a terrific husband and also not very neat.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was no need, Ms. Cliff, for you to send this kind of letter, airing the grievances that you had with regard to your former husband to any of his family. It is not actionable. I mean, the fact that you got chocolate all over the furniture and left crumbs all over the place, and what happened in the bedroom certainly was nobody's business but the two of you. And this was a mistake. Clearly, it was a mistake. I mean, the two of you, probably very nice people who tried to have another relationship, and it just didn't work out. Put a period and get on with your lives. You know, you're in the golden years of your life. Have a good time. Stop dwelling in the past.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm dismissing your complaint. I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Go out, enjoy the rest of your lives, hopefully in peace and separately from each other.
He took all the checking account. Why?
Listen to me. Your judgment of divorce provided in paragraph 8 that all issues of personal property were resolved by the parties. I do not intend to revisit that issue. The Superior Court of the state of Massachusetts ruled on that in a document that you signed and your attorney signed. If you're not happy about it, go back to your attorney. Say to your attorney, I was under duress, it was fraud, whatever it is, I want you to reopen my divorce. But I'll tell you now, Miss Clift, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell, because every other part of this judgment of divorce that I went through was complied with by him. And you're complaining about one of them, the personal property, and I'm telling you that I am not revisiting that. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thanks guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Thanks guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Hello guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Again guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Again guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Again, guys, thanks for watching our video till end. If you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Again, guys, if you want to watch more videos like that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.